Hey everyone, and welcome back to the third episode of Flashlight Fanatics. So today, Tim and I are going to be talking about his trip to China. So Tim's, I guess he'll be able to say it better himself, but he's done a little trip to China. He's done a bit of sightseeing, and also visited a bunch of torch factories, which I'm really excited to hear about. So yeah, so how did it? I guess what was your general trip like? And did a bit of sightseeing. What was, yeah,
Yep.
how'd you go?
Oh, yeah. So my wife's Chinese, is from Suzhou, which is about a couple hours east of Shanghai. So I've been visiting China since 2014. Every other year. There was a little bit of a delay there with the pandemic where we didn't visit for about 2-3 years. But yeah, I've visited last year and visited this year. So last year I went and visited family and took the opportunity to travel down to Shenzhen and visit some factories. And this year I also visited family for about 4 weeks, and then I spent about 7 days traveling on my own around China. So that was a little bit scary because I was like, okay, how do I deal with the language barrier, and how do I navigate literally like from the northern part of China down to the southern western part of China, which is it's like Australia. It's like in terms of distance, you're traveling like from Melbourne or from regional Victoria um, all the way across to like Perth. And yeah, some of the places are not in capital cities, so you've got to be on a train for a couple of hours. And luckily, they've got high speed trains.
Yeah, that'd be
So yeah,
is there some kind of, I wonder if you can get like a little Google Maps, Google Maps screen share or something up on the screen and just
yep,
see what it, how, the distances and stuff. Because I've been a long time ago, went to
yep,
Beijing. I don't even remember like a whole lot about it. This was back in maybe 2013. Yeah, maybe 2013 or so with an ex-girlfriend. So
yep,
it was good fun.
yep.
But I didn't go out to any of the like countryside areas and any of the, I mean, I just went to Beijing, so quite quite busy and
Yep.
full on.
Now it's sort of I really like their infrastructure, like the trains and metros, and like oh yeah, we've been talking about building like a couple of train stations on a metro line in Melbourne. And I think in all of that time, like in my wife's hometown, they've gone and built like two more entire lines with like 50 new train stations. So it's just like rapidly expanding over there. But yeah, I tried to um, reach out to some companies that I've already have a relationship online with. So I've already been talking to Flamingo or Blue Lake, the laser excited phosphor company, and already have been doing reviews on torches for NEXTORCH and Manker and Wuben and Acebeam. So I reached out to each of those companies and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in China roughly in this month in April. Uh, is it okay if I pop by?" And yeah, we didn't really confirm exact dates and times until I was in China, and then after being in China for a couple of weeks, I got the plan all sorted out, and it wasn't simply a matter of saying, "Okay, I'll be here on this day." I needed to figure out how do I get there, how do I get to the next place, and um, yeah, last year I tried to cram in 5 factory visits within 2.5 or 3 days, which is just way too many. It's fine if you live in the area and you're like if you're a flashlight manufacturer and you want to visit a whole bunch of different LED suppliers, it might be fine to go and visit 2 or 3 LED manufacturers in each day. But the way they do business there is sort of uh, you don't spend the whole time literally in the factory or in an office. You'll be like sitting down with them, having some tea, or going out for lunch or dinner, and like building proper relations and not trying to rush. uh, So this time I tried to space everything out, but I seriously underestimated the distance between uh, just each of the cities. So I traveled from Suzhou to Weifeng via high-speed train. My father-in-law drove me about 30 minutes to the high-speed train station. So Suzhou itself is quite big, like Melbourne. So going across to the other side of the city, northern Suzhou, I caught the high-speed train there. and I think it was about from 7:30 in the morning, and I arrived around 12 or 12:16 at Weifang, and then Ted picked me up from the station, and we went to a hotel right next to the factory. So luckily, there was a hotel literally adjacent from the factory, so it was nice and easy to just check in and then go and see the factory that day. We spent a good 4 or 5 hours in the conference room and looking in the assembly room and playing around with the different LEPs. Like you've got the transmissive style, which is like the shine through module, where you've got um, the yellow phosphor and a blue laser like pointing kind of from behind it, and it just produces a white beam. And then you've got the reflective style or the mirror style, where it hits a little reflector like the blue laser, and then it goes back into the yellow phosphor, and then it shoots back out again. But yeah, there's a whole factory tour video I've just recently uploaded um, for Flamingo. So they've got two brand names. Flamingo Optic is their Western brand name for like the global market, and then Blue Lake is their Chinese brand name for their laser excited phosphor modules. So you can check out that video. I guess I'll link it below, but that just goes through the whole experience. I tried to do a long form format of that video, but I had to cut out a whole bunch of essentially prototypes and flashlights that we got to talk about while at Blue Lake. Just didn't want to divulge who the clients are and whatnot. Uh, yeah, that's okay. It was a lot of fun just sitting in the conference room and talking about the different types of modules. They've got so many different modules, and then going out and testing them in the corridor. Uh, there was a lady testing a whole bunch of, I think, the TYX or the CT1 modules. So I think you've got like a TYX module there on the desk. I got this
Yeah,
like NT2 module.
chunky heatsink. Yeah, I
So
saw your video, man. That was really good. It was an interesting video. I watched the whole thing. It was, yeah, I'd recommend you guys check it out. Tim will link it in the description. But
yep.
yeah, just the different modules at the start and how small they were. Like I was really surprised. I thought they were gigantic, or yeah, but they're really small. And you were mentioning, or maybe Ted was mentioning in the video, that it comprises of not just one laser, but a series of like laser modules inside. Is that correct? And they focus
Uh,
in on a central point.
I think um, the bigger modules that you buy. I can't really say who. I guess
Yeah,
if you think of like the biggest LEP flashlight that you can think of, which everyone knows is like the Acebeam W50. I mean, there are other ones as well. They'd go like 9 kilometers or 14 kilometers, but the more popular one would be like an Acebeam W50. I think there might be something like a NR1 uni module where it's got about, I think, 3 or 4 lasers that point onto, I
jeez.
think, 4 separated little phosphor layers, or the same.
Yeah. Do the others
I have
have
to
that
watch the
same
video again.
feature? Do the others have the same feature? Or is it just like that one? Or the
It's
others have
just
one
those
laser module?
powerful ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like this. These little ones, I think, just have like, this is the NT2 module, so you got the little shine through, and this is quite small too. It's just got that little copper base that connects to the
Yeah.
heatsink, and you've got the TYX, which is more suitable for something like a Acebeam M1, I think. Like if you can screw the module into the torch and add some thermal compound to improve the heat transmission, so, or the heat transfer from the copper to the outer casing of the flashlight.
So
So
your one does your one screw into the base, or is it just attached with these screws? Like so the base actually
uh
transfers.
yeah, it's literally just attached with a couple of screws. It's got 3 screws
I see.
around
Yeah. I
the base
wouldn't
here.
that one seems like your one would be easier to add on to other to like existing hosts, because this one, I mean, because the screws, obviously not the screws but the threads are, you know and the diameter of this thing would need to screw into a host that's designed for the same diameter.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they
Yeah.
like the CT1 module is or CT2, very similar to the NT2, but it's a threaded module. Um, so I'm not. Yeah, I think
S-
it would be better to use this in a flashlight
Yeah, for
because you could
sure.
just
Like,
have a big MCPCB at the bottom to help transfer the heat. I'm not sure
yeah,
why you'd use the threaded one because it's harder to assemble. You need to add thermal compound and then adjust the tension so that it's at the right height or depth in the flashlight. Because if you've got it off by like 1 or 2 millimeters, you end up with artifacts around the edge of the beam, like a yellow or blue artifact. Or if it's a shine through module, it might just look a bit blurry around the edges.
yeah. It's almost as if these ones were designed for a specific light, to fit in a specific host,
Yep.
because that does limit yeah, what you can put it into. But yeah, I guess if you machined something that was, yeah, they could screw into. But it's not something. It's not like your module where you could just literally seems like you just plonk it down onto some other torch, uh,
Yep.
yeah, some MPCB and connect it up, and it would put some thermal paste at the bottom.
It seems easier to install that way, but maybe they want to reduce the length of the torch as much as possible and make really, really short torches.
Yeah,
That's when they
I
might decide to use that threaded one.
I wonder which one would be better. A better sort of. This would seem to have to make more contact. Yeah, I mean, with all the threads, if it's threaded and completely to a host, it would
Yeah,
seem like it would
it
make
can
better
be a lot
contact.
better at. That's more powerful too. I think you've got like a 19-watt one, or not sure the
19,
exact
yeah,
wattage is.
19.2 watts or
Yeah,
19.7 watts. So it produces about
this is only
900 plus lumens.
this is almost half that. It's about 11 watts,
Yeah,
but still a lot of fun with like the yeah. So yeah, I guess we're going too
yeah,
far
we
into
got
LEP discussions, but
that.
they are a lot of fun. We'll have another episode on LEPs, but the yeah the it's yeah it was great for Ted sent me this kit while I was in Suzhou and I got to play around with it. And then I spent a whole bunch of time trying to find. It's hooked up at the moment, so I'm trying to blind
Are,
myself.
are you
Anyway,
allowed? Are you allowed to talk about the factory and what you saw inside the? How many workers they had? What their assembly line was like? That's a
yeah,
million
so
questions, but yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was continuing. It was like I spent like a week trying to find a what do you call it? This little this little cable. It's essentially USB-C to 5.5/2.5 millimeter DC, and it triggers a USB power delivery power supply to use 12 volts 3 amps. So that provides sufficient power to the driver. This comes with like a test driver, and it needs like 12 volts 2 amps input. So this one, the cable correctly triggers the USB power supply. So I was able to get a power bank, hook up this USB C, and then take the whole module out onto a roof and play around with the LEP at nighttime and like pointed at some buildings, even though the buildings were like 5 kilometers away. So this didn't quite reach. It was like 1.5 kilometer distance, I think. But still a lot of fun to see all these lit LEDs on a building, like and yeah, pointing this high powered LEP beam at it. But after I played with that, yeah, got to the factory and talked about the modules, looked at them, testing them, got to see different types of mirror style modules in action, like the really powerful 100-watt ones, the 50-watt ones. And we briefly looked at the assembly room, but wasn't allowed to go up close and record the process of how they attach the lenses on top of like how they assemble the modules and put the lenses on top of the phosphor layer, because yeah, they've got like 300 patents for their designs, and they're a bit concerned about competitors trying to
mm.
copy their process and yeah, compete with them directly by just copying them.
Yeah. I saw that.
But the,
I saw the sort of thingos on the wall that you, yeah, all the patents on the wall, just the tire, just filled up.
yeah, which is like it's a bit hard to reverse engineer based on the patent without seeing the actual. Even if you see the end product, they I think competitors would want to try and copy the actual process of how they go about assembling the modules, and they didn't want to. divulge that information. So I got to look inside the assembly room, but I wasn't allowed to record really close up front. And we only saw one of 3 factories, or they've got 2 main factories in Weifang. There's that one that I went to where they do most of the small shine through style modules, and then there's another one I think a couple of blocks away that do the mirror style modules, and that's where it's got a sealed room and the light is sort of yellow. So the lighting for the whole assembly area I think is kind of yellow. You might have seen some videos on YouTube that Ted shared already of like just promoting the factories and stuff, but they've got much cleaner, and the environment's sort of I guess more sterile, and we've got yellow light in the area. But again,
is that those negative air pressure rooms where no dust is allowed to get into the room itself?
Yeah, I think so, because you don't want to get dust trapped on the on the lenses or the mirror inside the module.
Yeah,
which is probably a good segue into NEXTORCH, because they had a couple of negative pressure rooms, I think.
Well, that's full on.
That was didn't get to see the module up close being assembled, and I wanted to record it, but I mean that's fine if they don't want to share the IP and have intellectual property copied. That's fair enough.
And how big was this factory, the Flamingo place? Sorry, I just wanted to find out. You said there's 3 different factories. Yep. Do they seem like a pretty big operation? And do they produce other products as well besides LEP? Do they do LEDs, or is that pretty much all they? Yeah.
So I think the 3rd factory in Wuxi next to Suzhou that makes the phosphor layer, which is heavily guarded, and they try not guarded, but I mean they really don't want people to copy how they make the phosphor layer. So they produce the phosphor layers there, and I think they're also focusing on other technologies, more LED type. I won't go into discussion, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about the market segment they're working in. But they've got other focuses outside of LEPs as well, and I'd say they're moderately sized. Like they've got about 2 levels and several rooms in the first small factory that I saw, and they got another bigger factory a couple of blocks away that does the mirror style.
Yeah, that's interesting. They seem like the only company, that we know about that has the capability to produce these things. So they must have some really high tech equipment. And I don't know. I heard something in the LEP modules. They're probably using some synthesized crystals. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's where they produce in Wuxi, and they really don't want to divulge that information. But that was. After that we went out for beer. So it's sort of a dedicated 3 or 4 story. It's like a pub, bit of beer. What would we call it? Craft beer pub thing.
What kind of food do they have there?
Stories. The sort of spicy noodles and barbecue type stuff and seafood and
yeah. I should probably know this, but what in relative to the whole, area in China, is that sort of in the south or in the middle area?
It's just below Beijing, so it's 4 or 5 hours north of Shanghai.
Okay.
So it's sort of northish, not north. I guess people would consider Beijing and above to be northern China.
Oh, Shaanxi province, that around there.
Yeah, but this is a bit. Oh, it's in Shandong province, which is a bit lower than Beijing, but it's still, I think, they're known for flying kites in Weifang.
Yeah.
So they kindly gave me a pigeon themed kite. It's I think an ornamental box with a decorative type of kite. So I showed my daughter, but I didn't let her take it out and try and fly it because she might destroy it. She got to play with a different kite in the got her a different kite to use. But Yeah,
What must have travelled a fair distance from the south all the way up.
yeah, that was sort of the first enjoyable type of trip. Just sort of jumped on the train and got there and took a taxi to the factory, and that was easy. But then the next day, Monday, was dedicated. So I visited the factory on a Sunday, and they had the Qingming festival, which is like the tomb cleaning where people go and go to the graves and clean them and whatnot, and pay respect to the elders every year. That was held on uh, just the Thursday, Friday prior. Um, so they kind of, some places they shuffle the holidays around. So if you take the time off there, then you end up working on a Sunday to make up the time. I think that's common practice everywhere in China. So I was lucky to be able to visit them on a Sunday, spend the half the day traveling there, and then the next half visiting the factory, and then the evening going out with Mr. Yao, their product manager, and Ted, um, like their head of like sales, and yeah, we just went out to have some drinks, and I think had like 2 beers. I don't normally drink that often, so the 2 beers was enough to get me a little bit tipsy, and decided not to drink any more that week. Just
Yeah,
because the
yeah,
next day I had to spend traveling and I didn't want to have any type of hangovers and wanted to give 100% of my effort while
yeah.
being at a factory.
I think you were sick as you were getting bit sick as well. I'm not a big drinker myself. I haven't drank for quite a while actually. So yeah, I know what you mean. You
Yeah, I
stop
was,
for a little bit and then yeah, it's difficult.
did felt the effects of a little bit hungover, even though it was just beer. Maybe it was a lack of sleep. I had like 6 hours sleep, and I was up again at like 6:30, and then off
Mm.
to catch a taxi um, to another high speed train, and then I went to Qingdao the next day on Monday. So I spent the whole day of Monday getting from Weifang to Yangjiang. Um, so I had to go from Weifang to Qingdao, and then Qingdao's famous for their Qingdao beer. So you've probably seen beer in stores in Australia here too, but
Singtao,
it's sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
exported around the world. It's like the famous German. I don't know the history there. I think there's some German people there, and they ended up
Yeah.
creating this brewery called Qingdao.
They're like master brewers, aren't they? I mean, all the great
Yeah,
beers come from Germany, apparently.
and I just thought it was, we only ever see like one type of beer from Qingdao, like a kind of like a pale ale type of thing, and won't go into a beer discussion. But yeah, when I was at the airport, I was like, oh, I couldn't have any beers, and I would have loved to spend more time in that area just trying out the different beers there. But just there was a whole bunch of different boutique beer stores with Qingdao, and there was like a dozen different types of beers. It's kind of like if you go to a brewery in Australia, like um, a Cascade or somewhere, you find that they've got like all these different types of beers, not just the one or two that are very common. They have all these
Yeah,
different craft beers.
I guess something for export or what have you. Ah.
Yeah.
Did you end up
So,
seeing? You mentioned before you saw some terracotta warriors. Was that nearby?
yeah, like on the train trip to Weifang, it's such a vast landscape and so diverse. When you're just going past all like the rice fields, there's like watery
Uh,
rice fields, and then it goes into like mountains, and looking out off into the distance in the mountains, there was like a couple of really tall terracotta warrior um, statues. So I don't even know how big they were because I'm looking like a couple of kilometers away, and they looked quite big from a couple of kilometers away.
yeah.
So yeah, pretty massive.
So
But that
in
was just
between
a bit random.
in between the
As I was getting
cities.
towards Weifang, so like 100, it was probably like an hour away from Weifang.
Yeah. It's
So that
in
was
between. In between the cities, is it like mostly countryside, and is it not very kind of built up? How do they structure? Yeah, how do they structure
yeah.
their cities and just some of the sprawl? Is there a bit of industry out there as well? Is it mainly agricultural uh,
Uh,
sort
it
of
really
stuff?
depends on where you're traveling. Like there's a lot of urban sprawl around the big cities. So you've got a whole bunch of tier one type cities like Shanghai, Beijing, and there's a lot of urban sprawl. But then I think the way they've planned, they've sort of knocked down a whole bunch of areas and built them up again and built up really good infrastructure. So you've got like 3, 4 lanes of cars on each side in each direction, and then you've got the Copenhagen style fences. So you've got dedicated bike and scooter lanes where people can ride their electric scooters or push bikes down the dedicated lanes, and then that's on the outside with fences, and then you've got about 2 or 3 lanes on going in each direction with a dividing part again. So I just found it really common in those big cities to have all of those like really good infrastructure. Like if we looked at Melbourne, you might have like like 1 lane in each direction. You might have a bike path that's kind of there but shared with a car park, and then it's not there. And yeah, it seems sort of hard to yeah, you can't just demolish the buildings in Melbourne and then rebuild the road infrastructure so that it's convenient again. But they've done a lot of that with the major cities there. And the further you get out, you end up in like the countryside, and you've got like a single 2-way road, like a lane in each direction, and you only have to go like a couple of hours out of a major city to get to that. So it's quite diverse from got like this metropolitan urban concrete, but then they also have a lot of dedicated green areas and parks, and they I think they've got a whole bunch of, there must be an industry there where they're just growing trees, like all these different varieties of trees, and then they just transport them into the cities and then dig up holes and put the trees in and then prop them up with little like rods and tie them together to try and get the trees to take root in the park. So there's putting up these big parks and trees, and it looks
like a little nursery or something,
really cool
before they transplant them.
But that was I didn't. There's just a lot of landscape on the way to Weifang, and then once I was in Qingdao, I caught the plane to Guangzhou Baiyun Airport, and the southern airlines are always notoriously late. Like last year, I had to wait 3 hours to get to take my flight because it was delayed, and then this year there was another delay for about 2-3 hours. So that in the background, I'm asking my mother-in-law and wife, can you please try and help me with all the follow-on travel arrangements? We decided not to book any high-speed train tickets until I arrived in Guangzhou because we knew there was going to be a delay. And once I got to Guangzhou, I had to go from Guangzhou Baiyun Airport to walk across to the metro. And once I arrived at the airport, I had to go and find my bags and figure out how do I get to the metro. And like, oh, cool, there's like a QR code thing I can scan. And I installed an app in WeChat to use the metro, which was nice because I could just use my phone to pay for everything and just scan into the subway system. I didn't have to try and contend with a whole bunch of machines that were like out of service, because sometimes when you go to a train station, a metro, there might be a whole bunch that are out of service, and then you got to queue up for to talk to someone and say, could I please get a temporary RFID tag to go from this stop to that stop? Then I've got to explain where I'm going. So it's nice to be able to use the app. So use the app, and then caught one metro line for about 5 stops, and then transferred to another, got out of that, walked up to a different level and transferred to another line, and traveled about 20 more stops to Guangzhou South, got out at Guangzhou South, and that is just absolutely massive. I think it must be like the size of Melbourne Airport or bigger, and it's just a train station. So once I got there at Guangzhou South, I had to make my way across to the high-speed train gate, and like I think I went to like gate 23, and I didn't know where I was. supposed to go, I just randomly decided I'm going to walk diagonally across this massive like football field type area, and then I got to the end and then took a lift up to level 3F and came out. This is a security checkpoint, chucked my bags in, went through the checkpoint, and like, oh, cool, there's the gate 23. I got to the gate and I only had 5 minutes to spare to jump on the train before it departed. So very prompt. And yeah, my mother-in-law had just booked the train while I was, as soon as I arrived at the airport, she booked the train for me, and I was able to rush to the, had like, we weren't sure if I should have cancelled um, the ticket that you just booked and get a later one, but we already were delayed a couple of hours, and I didn't want to make NEXTORCH wait because Jace was waiting for me, and the flight was already delayed a couple of hours. So yeah, took the high speed train to Yangjiang, and unfortunately by that point it was quite dark at night, so all I could see was like the lights of some skyscrapers, fewer and fewer lights, and it's just like a 2 hour trip without much scenery to see that day because it was at nighttime. And then finally got to Yangjiang, and Jace picked me up and checked me into the hotel, and he kindly got me some food from a nearby restaurant, just a bit like takeaway of just all sorts of different things and Yangjiang specialties. It was like a what do you call it? The sticky rice. It's like a specialty sticky rice that they make in Yangjiang. It's like greenish, and I think I've had different types of sticky rices before in like Thailand.
Uh,
So it
like
was a
a
grey.
sweet and salty kind of rice
Yeah,
dish.
it's just like a sweet rice dish thing, or like little
Yeah,
treats, and yeah, but then
yeah.
regular rice and different meats and stuff. So yeah, that was wonderful. Had the dinner and then went to bed and crashed, and got up in the morning, and Jace kindly picked me up and took me to the factory. And yeah, so we went to the power source factory. Yangjiang is known for their knife manufacturing. They've got all different types of companies making knives, like kitchen knives and utility knives, and like Nextool is there. They're a part of the Power Source group, I think, and they've got a massive utility knife uh, factory there. Didn't have enough time to see Nextool. There was like, when we got to NEXTORCH, I was like, whoa, this is big. I didn't expect NEXTORCH to be big because I've been to like Wuben and Olight. They're quite big, and NEXTORCH is, dare I say, they look a little bit bigger than Olight. Not to try and
Wow.
see which is better, but I mean, they they've got quite a large operation there with their CNC and lathes, and I think we went to two different clean rooms to check out like how the torches are assembled, and I had to walk, take my shoes off, go into slippers and stuff, and um, use the proper uh, overalls and hairnets and stuff, and walk through a I think it was probably a negatively pressured room, and it's like a two-way door thing where you stick on the sticky mats and it blows you dry from all the dust and tries to get all the dust out of there and all the dirt. So when I step into the room, I can walk around without dragging dust into the room with me.
Yep.
So that was
Wow.
a lot of fun. They had different colors for different people. Like I think the blue was like guests and visitors. I think can't remember, there was yellow and pink, or like the quality assurance people doing quality checks and stuff and testing, and then I think white may have been like the main workers, and can really appreciate the complexity of when they were trying to assemble the torches. So yeah, Ted kindly gave me this LEP module and put that to the side. And next torch, we're making a bunch of TA30Cs and assembling these. Um, they kindly engraved my name. I think I spent like 30 minutes doing a custom engraving of my signature on the side of the torch. So it's not that easy to do because the setup involved is a bit complex.
You got a once limited edition, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like really appreciate the complexity of just assembling the head section because they've got um, for the TA30C, they've got like a semicircle arrangement with the desks and all these specialty tools for doing each step. So the workers there are really, really proficient in like doing the assembly of each step, and yeah, they were able to make it look easy because if they like, oh, could you want to go? Like we can record. You're like, okay, sure, I'll have a go. So I had to go at assembling just the head part, like putting got the empty PCB in, putting the gasket on top, the reflector in, putting in the O-ring, and then the lens, and then another piece of plastic, and then the bezel, which I've done before, like when I've just opened these up and looked at them. But if you're in an assembly line, it's like, how do you do this efficiently and make sure it's all correct? And I was like, freaking out, like, oh, I don't want to destroy someone's nice torch. Like, you might want to check this again. Because when I got through and finished it, like, I think you should probably redo that or check it again. And they're like, no, that's for you. So we'll.
Oh, so you put
So
together your own? That was the one you put together for yourself.
yeah, I got to keep the.
Ah, sweet.
So
And
I
and
think
it's one piece, isn't it, Tim? Like not one piece, but you know what I mean. Just only the tail cap
yeah,
and it comes off. Yeah,
yeah,
because we
like
were
the whole
talking about how it's like it's more watertight and there's less points of failure because a lot of the lights, a lot of lights out there, they just unscrew on both ends of the battery tube.
yeah, I'll try and finish. I'll need to edit the factory tour video of NEXTORCH, but
Yeah,
the copper or the aluminium part is sort of shaped like this bezel when it's sort of cut to that shape, and then when they go through the whole CNC process, they take a rod that basically looks like this head and then cut it down and put all of the knurling on with the CNC. So it's just
yeah,
one complete chunk of aluminium that they've cut out and shape, which looks really yeah. It's a lot better than having two different points. So you've got one less point of failure for water getting in.
yeah. And you didn't have
But
to worry about any dust or anything getting in that room, did you? Like, because it's all you said it's a clean room,
uh
and
I
what do you put?
still worried. So I
Yeah,
still managed to get like one little drop of dust in the on the reflector. Like I was being really pedantic. I was like, I think there's a dust, and then the lady's like, "Yep, here you go." It's like, "Poof," and she uses like a hydraulic press thing on blower, and it just sort of like and blew the thing away.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, they know what they're doing, but I was a bit worried about. Uh, yeah, it seemed like a much cleaner environment than
Yeah.
with the
Did, did you see them like put together, like with the whole CNC process and actually like making the parts and treating the metal and coating it with the anodization? And I heard that there's many, many steps. Many, I don't know, 30
yeah.
steps or more. Is that right?
So I think
Or
I saw them shaping the aluminium, so cutting it to the size, and then the reflectors. They were cutting the reflectors and shaping them. So they make the body and the reflectors, but uh, I think they send the reflectors off to another company that adds the finish to make it look really shiny or to make it look like an orange peel, so it diffuses the beam. So they send the reflectors off to get finished. They also, I'm pretty sure they send the aluminium parts off to get the anodizing done. So I didn't
uh,
see any anodizing done at the factory.
yeah, because that anodizing and on a lot of NextTorch models, it's like one of my favorite anodizing, and I don't know if you think the same, but it's just so. Oh, it's got that. It's matte
Yeah,
black, but it's so durable and like grippy at the same time.
yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
really nice matte black type of finish.
yeah. I don't know whether they
But
just put on a thicker coat or something like that, but it just seems to be really, yeah, really durable.
I guess one
But
thing
yeah,
that made me think they stood out a bit compared to other factories was they had. I mean, Wuben's got their own SMT line where they uh, take the drivers and put the components on and heat. It goes through a big oven and comes out, and then they go and put them in the torches. But NextTorch also had like another clean room with two SMT lines, so they're assembling the drivers. They go through these two ovens, so there's two separate lines, and then it goes to an automated optical check at the end. So it's just all these boards. The whole process is automated up until someone takes out the board, a bunch of boards at the end after the optical check. So the machine just
Wow.
checks the boards, and then people are manually probing. So they didn't have test jigs for test. Like, at least I didn't see any test jigs. So some people will create little electronic test jigs so that you can automate the process of testing boards. They had like a dozen people, yeah, just manually checking the boards. So that was, yeah, a bit of. I didn't expect to see here two big SMT lines, and those they're
What does
quite expensive
SMT stand
machines.
for? I'm not familiar with that.
Uh, I don't know. So I need to.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like
Like production
um,
lines, basically.
I know it's like the oh geez,
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
it
I
no
got
yeah,
no idea myself.
it's it just refers to the like I think it refers to the component site. So when you've got like a PCB with a through hole component, you've got little SMD components which are like really tiny. What have I got
Surface
on me
mount
here?
like
Yeah.
resistors and capacitors and that type of stuff.
Yeah, so I think it's
Yeah.
surface mount something, and I forgot what the T is, but they called it T SMT
Transistors.
in the
I
factory.
don't know.
Um, but yeah, it's they're putting little surface mount components on the boards with thermal, not thermal based, flux, solder flux, not solder, it's solder paste. They got several hundred stencils, so yeah, there's a bunch of shelving that had all these stencils, and you basically put the stencil over the top of the PCB and then run a bunch of solder paste on top of it, and then remove the stencil, and then you've got all of these boards with you've got like the copper layer on the boards, and now they've got this solder paste on top of it, and then that goes into the pick and place machine, and then all the components get added to the correct place on top of the solder paste, and then that goes through
Hmm.
the oven at a certain rate, and then that heats up the solder paste, and each of the SMD components just attaches to the board using the solder paste that comes
So
out.
after
And
the stencil bit, it's all kind of automated from there. It seems, and then afterwards, there's some kind of manual testing that you were
yeah, I
mentioning.
think even the stencils might be like automated. I
Yeah,
think they've got
that's amazing.
yeah.
I
So
wish we
it's
had that kind of
yeah.
stuff here in Australia. Well, we probably do
Oh,
in some
we
places, but it
do.
doesn't
I
seem
guess
to
yeah.
be. Yeah.
Shout out to Unexpected Maker in Melbourne. Yeah, because he showed his setup with like the pick and place machine and stuff, and I think doing reflow oven stuff. So he's got his own like professional setup, and he's got test jigs that he's made. So I was looking at his setup and going, wow, that would be cool if like yeah.
What's a test jig? Is a test jig like testing continuity, or, between parts, components and stuff, or what?
Um, trying to see if I got a driver, but like with the different driver boards, you might have a bunch of little pads that are exposed, like this little circular copper
Yeah.
pads, and you can get it. The test jig might have little pins that press against the pad, so you can have the board come across and sit there, or have the test jig press against the
Oh,
each of
okay.
the contact points, and then it might perform a bunch of functions like check that the um
This
because you need to
current flow and
load the
stuff.
firmware on there and make sure it's
Uh,
all working. So
yeah.
just
Yep.
trying to verify that the firmware works, and that yeah, the different signals or outputs are working properly. So you could try and measure the voltage out from the driver to the
Oh, okay.
LED,
Yep.
just to make sure it's all working properly. Because you could have parts that fail. The
Yep.
the chips that you come off the reels, you could have a certain number of them fail. So you want to make sure everything's working electronically. Otherwise, when you turn it on, it might just blow up. Well, not blow up, but it might just burn out and not work. And then
Yeah.
yeah, torch doesn't work, and you don't want to get to a point in the process where you put a faulty driver in
Yep.
a fully assembled torch and then have to take everything out again.
That's really reassuring to hear that they're testing them up even at that early point.
Yep.
Not just sort of chucking them into the torch. Okay, it turns on. but even if it does turn on, maybe I don't know, it could be outputting the wrong, outputting the wrong amount of voltage, or who knows. So yeah,
Yep, it could be some component that was incorrectly loaded, or I guess the optical inspection might pick it up, but
yeah,
yeah, or if it's just not connecting properly and shorting, and yeah, you might not be measuring anything.
yeah.
But
Oh, that's
yeah, so that
interesting.
was the SMT line, and then they were keen to get me to go check out the Low Light Tactics Institute, which is a different facility at another power source site. So they've set up a whole facility where it's just like a big type of gym. Is the entry point is like a basketball court type thing, and there's a conference room with where they like will get people from law enforcement or like the police or military. I'm not sure about the military. Yeah, so they'll get them to go and um, into the conference room, do like a briefing about what they're there for today, and then how everything works, and then go into the like the basketball court type area, which is that leads into like this maze type thing. There's like a maze of white walls and doors and windows and stuff. So they just basically showed me had there's an instructor that was fully kitted up with tactical gear from NEXTORCH and had a rifle. I think it was like a replica AR something, and a pistol, just to show me how they go about clearing a room or identifying subjects in a room and making sure they can, yeah, they just how to use a torch effectively to clear a room without getting shot, basically, and doing it safely but also effectively. So that they
Oh,
just went through a whole bunch of different scenarios with the rifle and pistol and handheld torch as well. And I got to be behind the instructor, seeing how they cleared it under each of those scenarios, and also in front of like being a subject in the room. So I got to have the
mhm.
blinding light shining in my face, and I found that like the pistol light was the most effective at blinding me. The TA-30C was quite annoying, but not as bad as a. I'm not sure why, but the pistol weapon light was
Yeah,
it's just more
mm,
intense. It's like the bursts would just flash and like
interesting.
blind me. Um,
I
so
wonder if it's because it's just on the direct angle, if the pistol's pointed directly at you, whereas I don't know if you're using a
yeah,
torch, you're coming in from a like this side angle. So
might not have been pointing directly at my face or something. Yeah,
yeah, that's one thing I really
good.
like about NextTorch. They're actually like making these lights up to spec so that they can be used for law enforcement, military as well. So it's they have to last and they have to stand up to those duties. So
I
you know,
should
it's quite
mention that
a yeah,
got to speak with the owner, um, Robin at
rather than
Mr. Robin Liang, I think. And when I got there, the first thing I did was just have a quick walk around the factory for 15 or 10 minutes, and then 9 o'clock had a scheduled meeting or interview with Mr. Robert Liang of NextTorch, and he talked about the history of NextTorch and how they went about testing things up and designing things up front, and kind of related to me around how I explained I'm doing like using DIY equipment for testing, and they explained how they used to do that kind of approach back in the day when they first started out, and then as they made more and more money, they invested in professional equipment and um, yeah, tried to automate things more and make things easier for themselves when they're producing stuff. It was nice of him to relate to me in that way when I was
mm.
talking about my amateur test equipment that I'm using. But he wasn't talking about test equipment. He was talking about calculating the focal point of a reflector, and when they designed the reflectors and cut them, and they were kept manually, or they had their own DIY stuff to calculate the
do they
focal point. And
do they calculate that through computer like programs, or do they you know
yeah, they had their
yeah
own, and then they went and invested more money to buy off the shelf type of stuff that's much more expensive for
yeah
calculating it. Um, so that he mentioned they had like 35 different types of police officers in China. So they've got their main market segment at NextTorch is just mostly law enforcement. I think they focus on outdoor and military, but we didn't really discuss that in great detail. It was mostly just talked about law enforcement. and the different types of police, because you could have like security guard type police at your residences, because there's a lot of gated communities where you've got a whole bunch of apartments surrounded by a fence, and then about 2 or 4 different entries around the perimeter, and each one's got like a guardhouse, and they just basically just stop random people walking in. You just have to go through the RFID checkpoints, and they just want residents coming in and not randoms. But you do have delivery drivers coming in and dropping
Mm.
things off, and people have stickers. So if you have random delivery drivers or people, they might like put stickers on your doors. So I'm not sure if you've seen that, where people take pictures of, or they've shared pictures of apartments online, and you can see like just hundreds of stickers just being plastered on people's doors. And it's not, I'm not sure if it's a big problem, because when I visited my in-laws place, there was no stickers on the doors and stuff. They're all cleaned off. uh,
What kind of torches
but
do
yeah,
their people use? Do their law enforcement, do they use a specific model like the one you're
I think
using, the
it's all different.
TA30? Or yeah,
I think the
curious
TA30C is one of the most popular ones due to its size and using as a duty light. But
because you know how
well,
they
they
got
got
those two. They got those holsters that come with them now, the V55, and then there's like the V35. I think the V35 is designed specifically for that. So I'd assume
yeah,
that it's because they maybe produce them in mass for law enforcement agencies, because they haven't produced
yeah,
a, or they've got a universal holster for 21-700 lights, but they don't have,
yeah,
ones that are just for the TA30C and the TA20, which are, they, if you got to pop on that,
yeah.
what do you call it, the
The big
FR1
one.
ring. Yeah.
I think there's a yeah that those two new holsters are pretty good, much better than, at least in my opinion. I like the design of the new holsters, because you can just yeah, the older holster, it feels like when you put the T830C in the holster, it sort of just sinks in there, and it's like a big cup holder type thing, and it's just a bit awkward. Whereas the new one's much more slimline, and you've got like the skeleton type design, you just clip it in,
Yeah.
quick release. I think you've got 2 of them, but I don't have any of those. But I think because I gave my, uh, I did the review of the TA30C, and gave it to a relative who's in law enforcement to check out, and to actually try and provide real world feedback to the company. So gave NextTorch some feedback about using the torch, and how it's nice how you can adjust the angle of a holster when you're sitting. If you've got it on your belt and you want to sit in a vehicle, you don't want the torch to dig into your ribs. If it's just sort of sticking up, you wouldn't want to put it on your belt, because as soon as you sit down, you'll have that sticking into the side of your waist or your belly and stuff. So you can put it at an angle and not have
Yeah.
it um, dig into you.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like kind of angled forwards
Yeah,
instead of, yeah,
like
downwards, yeah.
instead of like having it up down, you just put it at a
Yeah.
90-degree angle with your belt, and then it doesn't dig into you when you sit down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess feedback there was that it'd be great if they put USB-C charging somewhere on the external point, but
Yeah, some of
they're
them
trying
have
to
the
go for
unscrewable
water
heads.
ingress.
It would be good
They
if they
want
had
them.
those, like the E51C, the E52C, where you just unscrew the head, and even the P84, the series, you can unscrew the head, and they've got that hidden USB-C port under.
Yeah,
But yeah, like you said, I mean, it's
yep.
just
So
you got no point of water ingress issues, or you don't have any chance of whacking the USB port and maybe stuffing up the driver, because it's normally connected onto the driver, so you might damage the driver if you give it a good knock in that area. So
yep.
yeah, I mean,
Well, it
pros and
seems
cons,
to
isn't it?
stands up quite well to, yeah, being chucked at concrete. They're testing. We forgot about the lab when I got to the Low Light Texas Institute and went through that whole process. And um, then I was like, oh, I'd love to see integrating spheres. And like, oh no, we forgot to check out the lab. So we went back to the first factory, um, so, and checked out the lab where they've got. I think they've got like 2 big integrating spheres, and then 3 or 4 little ones. There was like 3 little ones and 2 big integrating spheres from Everfine, and I think they've got a couple of computers too from Everfine. So those are really, really expensive. think hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of test
Wow.
equipment for measuring the light and the CCT and delta UV and all that.
Yep.
And then went to another room where they were uh, doing all your standard testing that you'd expect, like the drop tests and the button tests, with pressing the buttons, and
Hmm.
heat and humidity tests and stuff like that. But they also had a custom rig with a bunch of rails for weapon lights, so they were simulating gunshots. So the
Oh,
machine
for
would,
recoil.
yeah, testing the recoil with the like electronics to make sure. I haven't just need to check if it's podded electronics, but yeah, they wanted to check that the recoil wasn't going to damage the the
Yeah.
driver or the torch.
That's something I wonder as well, whether some of these are potted and they've just not mentioned it. You know,
I
it's
should
I
take one
can't get into
apart.
them.
Maybe I'll check
Yeah.
out the max. But I think the weapon light would be the potted version, ideally, and probably not. Um, I'd be surprised if they potted the electronics on the handheld torches, because they've got dedicated rifle lights and pistol lights that you can use, and I'd expect that they'd probably pot those, but need to check them out and disassemble them.
Yeah.
It's just cool to see baton testing as well, because they sell batons, and I'm like, yeah, you can't sell them to the public in Australia because we're not
Yeah.
allowed to carry batons.
Unfortunately.
Which, yeah, can't have much
I
stuff
got
for self-defense
did
purposes in
did
Australia.
they show you that really cool grenade thing, that light flashbang
Uh,
thing?
yeah, we
And
didn't
it's like
test it, but
it's 120 decibel, like, and it has flashbangs. Like, that's nuts.
yeah, Robin showed me that one. He said how
Yeah.
law enforcement and army, I think, were using using that for simulation training purposes.
Yeah.
They did, yeah.
Did he try it out and you? No, just wanted to see
No, he
how
had it
effective
out, and
it
I was
is.
like,
It's
okay,
Yeah,
but
it
didn't
must
set
be
it off in
annoying
the
as hell.
building.
I could imagine that thing being so annoying because I don't know
Yep.
if you got the sample of that whistle one, the P80. Is it P86 that has that whistle
Yep.
that, on it? It's just
Yeah, I
so
wonder if
nauseating,
you can use
the
those
sound that
grenades
comes
in
out.
Australia, because it's just a
Yeah.
flashbang.
I mean, it's like a loud noise. It's like a loud noise, right?
Yep.
People can have like a whistle, electronic whistle. So, but I think
Yep.
there's maybe some law in Australia which says if you've got a device that's designed to,
Yeah.
disorientate people, like specifically, maybe. But then that could be like a strobe effect. I mean,
Yep.
it's
Have to see.
that's
That's probably pushing it, because it's, yeah, shaped like a grenade.
yeah. At least if say if you got a strobe, you can be like, okay, I use it for light painting, or
Yep.
I don't know, but yeah.
I think that was, yeah. Once I was at the NEXTORCH, that was my third day of traveling solo out of about 7 or 8 days, and um, yeah, after visiting the lab, we yeah, I got dropped off at the train station and got a ticket to travel to Shenzhen North, and yeah, I got to see the countryside. There's much more countryside. Like, there's more mountainy, and like it was just literally just mountains and not many people. Going on the train from Yangjiang towards uh, Guangzhou South. So I got to Guangzhou South, and then I think I took another. Oh, no, I didn't take it. Yeah. So it's all confusing. I went from Yangjiang on the high speed all the way to Shenzhen North, and then Ray from Raylight picked me up at like 7 p.m. and drove me to a restaurant near Manker. So Tony from Manker was waiting for me at the restaurant, and yeah, Tony, Ray, and I, we just had some dinner, all different types of foods, and I think I got food poisoning after that, but I wasn't. I mean, they say it takes like, I think they say it takes a couple of days for
Maybe
food
50
poisoning
days,
to
yeah.
appear.
Maybe something I ate a few days
Um,
ago. It's not
it
used
was
to the
probably
food there.
something a couple of days, because
It
I
was
was
spicy.
vomiting later that night, and it might have been. I mean, yeah, I don't know what it was,
Yeah.
but that was sort of probably something I ate over the past couple of days or week, because I was up for anything, like trying anything, except like seafoods. Like, I'd eat the seafoods and like scallops and stuff, but if there's like crab, and I just didn't grow up eating crabs, so I'm not sure how you go about breaking the arms and getting stuff out. Sorry, I won't go into detail if you're like vegetarian and stuff. But is anyone listening? But yeah,
I don't
there's
think I don't think we'll have too many.
yeah,
Like, I dare
I'm
say
just
we won't have
not
too many
familiar at
vegetarians
all
listening to
with.
this.
Wasn't too familiar with seafood growing up on a sheep
Yeah.
farm in
It's
country.
annoying. Like,
Sorry.
crab's very annoying to eat. Like, it's so good when you get to the meat, but there's not much in
Yep.
it. Even when it's like a lobster or like a yabby or something like that. Like, there's just the tail bit really, and you ditch the head.
Yep. I felt a
Yeah,
bit guilty.
I love seafood.
So instead of saying no to everything, I'd sort of I'll try anything because I didn't want to
Yeah, yeah,
have people just try to cater towards me and then not have what they prefer. I'm like,
yeah. It's
just let's go
difficult,
and
isn't
eat
it?
what you want if you want to
Yeah,
go out
it's
for
like you don't
food.
want to. It's like you don't want to offend them, but at the same time, like, yeah, if it's you're sick, yes, I don't know.
If I
I get that when I'm drinking because I don't drink, so
yep,
people often offer me stuff to drink. I'm like, I don't drink, and they're like, so, I don't you yeah take offense. People take offense at times, but yeah, at least you got to try out a
yeah,
few interesting things. Yeah,
I think it was just the stress of traveling the whole day on Monday, then get up, go and do videos, like trying to record. The second time, professional or semi-professionally, I had like the whole DJI Mic 2 thing hooked up with the lav mics, and yeah, trying to switch between I want to get good footage, but I also want to be present and giving 100% is a bit difficult
your
with so
footage
many
is
things
pretty
going on.
good though. Are you using that gimbal as well while you're recording? Because
Just my hand, so with
yeah,
stabilization, so it gets cropped a little bit by like
oh, yeah,
5%, which is
natural
not, yeah,
stabilization.
yeah. So I was just sort of holding the camera, but it's got its own stabilization on the Pixel 6a as well. So that was
Yeah.
kind of okay. I'm hoping it's sufficient, but the audio should be a bit better with using Rode Lav mic goes and the DJI. I
Mm.
kind of wanted to get I wanted to get the Rode Wireless Pro, but then because the audio quality is a bit better, but I think the ease of use of the DJI mic too. I think Chul or Sean from Chul Flashlight, he convinced me that yeah, okay, it's a better integrated system. I can um, just plug the receiver directly into my phone and carry it, and it just works easily. I don't have to have dongles hanging off it, and that
Mm.
sold it for me because I could just pick up the phone and start recording, and didn't yeah didn't want to make that more complicated than it needed to be. But yeah, that was yeah. I had dinner and then got dropped off at the hotel, and the next morning Tony picked me up from the hotel and drove me to the factory, and we went up to like level something like 3 or 4 at the that he's building. I think it's a much smaller operation at Manker, but it's still, I mean, it's a modest operation. They've got their main reception area and then office area in his boss's Tony's room, and we sat down and had some tea, and he got like the ceremonial type tea where I'm not sure what do you call it. It's how they do business in China. You've got if you go to visit someone's office or business place, they may have like it's like the coffee fanatics in Melbourne, where someone's got their own like conical burr grinder, and they're like doing different types of
Mm-hmm.
fancy coffees. They got tea tradition there, so it's like different specialty teas and the dedicated setup for making tea. So we had a bunch of teas and playing with all the different prototypes. I got to see the Manker time back. I'm not sure if you've seen those, the spinny fidgety time back from Manker.
No,
It's like
haven't seen
$300.
them. Yeah,
They're
there's a
quite
few companies
expensive.
making these things these days, like the fidget toy style torches,
Yep.
made out of like titanium or some polished titanium, and you can put those tritium vials in them as
I was
well.
like the Acebeam, yeah, the Acebeam Rider RX is like a little fidget thing.
Yeah.
I think I've got that here. It's sort of, uh, it's it, yeah, it's just sort of clicks. But
Oh,
the
cool.
Manker one,
Yeah,
this is the Rider RX, but the Manker,
yeah,
um, that sort of, it's got like a ball bearing thing around the outside near the head, and it just spins, and the actual head detaches. It's got like a magnetic connection point where you can swap out the heads for like a flooding and a throwy head. So there's another torch that they've got with a similar type of design where you could just change the head. If you wanted a floody one, you could use this head. If you want a throwy one, you put another head on. It's just a magnetic attachment at the end. But yeah, really cool fidget toys. So I got to play with those different torches on the desk, and Ray came along and joined us and talked about torches, and kindly gave me um, a titanium carved torch that like Ray like Pineapple Mini, and he recently sold a bunch of carved torches on his website. So he's gone and carved out the different designs on the tube, just cutting out titanium by hand
Oh, yeah.
and
I saw that one.
anodizing it.
That one that looked like a tree, like a
Yeah,
tree
like
branch or
Groot
something. Yeah, that was
from
amazing. Is it made of
like
titanium as well?
yeah, it's got titanium. It's like I
Yeah,
should have yeah,
because
a bit, and the inside's all
the color's a bit different. Because you know how people do some type of temperature not anodizing, but they treat it with different temperature flames, and apparently it can change colors.
yep. I'm not sure how he produced like the wood like finish, but it's titanium, and if you take the tail cape off and look at the threads are like a rainbow color, like it just blue and purple and stuff and yellow. So it
Oh,
looks crazy on the inside when you take the threads off, or take the cap off to see the threads.
yeah. I wonder if
Um,
that finish like scratches off or something, or does it go through the metal completely? I mean, it should
yep.
technically, yeah,
Goes through completely, I think.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I think you have to like electrically anodize them and apply a certain voltage, and while you've got chemicals, or I'm not sure of the process, but I've just
It's
seen
more
people put chemicals
complicated.
into a bucket and then attach like run different currents or voltages through it.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was yeah. Had a chat in his office and then went into the assembly room. The assembly room's got I think like two main production lines. So there's one big line on each side. You've got people like desks on each side of the one line for assembly, and then the other line is also assembly, but also had packaging. So there's people packaging um, stuff for sale, and at the very end there was a laser engraving, and there was some testing. So like doing just a bunch of torches that were in a rack and being tested, and then in another couple of rooms they had like the all these massive racks full of different components that were ready for assembly, and there was another more rooms with finished products where everything's been assembled and packaged up and ready to go, and there was some that was like also ready to be assembled but it needs to be packaged up. And I think you can store more flashlights if you don't package them up straight away. So they're just sort of all in these purpose built trays, so you've got all of these torches that have been built that are ready to be taken out and put into packaging and sold. So it's a modest setup. They do a lot of, I think they outsource a lot of the like the anodizing and reflectors and all that gets produced by, I think they get other companies and applied there, and then they do the assembly back at Manker.
yep. Do
But
they make
yeah,
their own toasts and everything though?
I think they design them, and then um, I didn't see any CNC or anything. But I mean, that's sort of what some other companies do too. Like at Olight, they had two CNC lathe machines in their factory, but then all of their production work was done by another company that's a couple hundred meters away. That's a CNC lathe company, and they, I think, going off top, yeah, Olight just do the prototype and then design it, and then they send the design off to
Mm-hmm.
the supplier and say, "Can you please make 1,000 of these or 10,000 of these?" And the supplier then goes and makes them for them.
Yep.
So Manker's sort of similar type of thing. I think they design the host and then get the supplier to produce it, and then they send it to another place to get the anodizing done. Comes back, and then they do the assembly and assemble it themselves.
No, that makes sense. I,
Yeah,
I mean that they're all working with each other. I mean, I don't think any of these, even the larger flashlight companies, don't work independently. They can't do everything in house. There's got to be some specialty finishes, or like you're saying, like with the reflectors, need to be finished off by another company that has maybe the machines and the capability to do that.
Yeah, and like the batteries, I think you probably noticed the Acebeam batteries and the Manker batteries and Lumen Top with like the 14500s with the USB-C charging. They all look pretty much the same, and I'm pretty sure they're from the same supplier.
Yeah,
At least they
just
said
rewrapped.
as much. Which, yeah, makes sense. Might as well share the same battery suppliers and not reinvent the wheel and have different. If you've got like a good supplier with good quality, you might as well share the same supplier.
Yep.
But yeah, that was, yeah, got to see that whole process and record it, and they kindly like laser engraved my name on where are we? It's like a Make It EO5 Mark II,
Very
and
nice.
so the
Copper.
Nichia. Yep, copper. It comes as like a polished copper, but this is already developing a patina, so
Yeah.
it's already starting to look a bit brown. And there's also the titanium. I've got a couple here. There we go. So
It's a
I
new
reviewed
shelving unit.
two. Yeah, I bought that from Bunnings for like $90, and just finally got a place to put some of my torches.
Yeah, it's becoming a struggle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my collection's not as big once I put it up on the shelves, so
Yeah.
it is probably excessive. It's only like 100 torches or something.
Oh, just 100. Yeah, that's not much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't. It's filling up like a quarter of the shelf, so of the
Yeah.
three
I think
three
any normal
shelves. So.
person that would see that would be like, that's too many torches for one person.
Yep.
I got mine in
That was
boxes, man.
it. Yeah, I'm trying to organize it more, and I thought about setting it up, but yeah, I'd rather have something that's practical, and it's a mix between having it look nice on camera versus being practical. And you see a lot of backdrops where people have all these torches in the background. I'm like, okay, I need to have my test equipment accessible at like arm's length, and my torches can be at higher on the shelf. And if I'm not using them straight away, then just put them
Yeah.
like off to the side for storage. But yeah, this is the Manker EO5 Mark II, and I think it's got one of the most efficient drivers for a 14500 AA multi-chemistry light. I mean, the MSR D3AA may be more efficient. I haven't tested it, but yeah, looking at that one, the D3AA looks really, really good too. But
Yeah.
up until that was released, I'd say this would be one of the most efficient drivers,
Yep.
because it just drops an output after about a minute from like 1400 or something lumens, and then drops to about 300 lumens and sustains it. So the sustained output's really nice. I'd prefer that instead of having the drop off where you find with you've got like the Acebeams anyway. Not to bag them out or anything. They've got really good drivers too, but they're focusing on trying to have more output over time on average, so it'll gradually dip and drop off,
Yeah.
which
Or is that
I
was more
don't
sustained
like as
output?
much.
Yeah. So you
Which,
prefer the sort of sustained output lights?
yeah, I'd rather just have it go like one level high and then drop down and then just sustain the output, so I know that's going to be 300 lumens for the next couple of hours, and
Yeah.
not gradually drop in brightness. Because if you're outside in the dark and the light starts getting darker and darker and darker, it kind of throws you off, and it's a
Yeah.
bit weird.
Yep. That makes sense. It's cool, like these companies like Manker, and I mean they don't. I guess if you have those sort of companies that have more of an assembly style situation, they can pick and choose which manufacturers to go to, like the best bits to customize a light that they want. Maybe
Yep.
one. They can get the drivers from this company, they can get the clips from this other company, they get it finished. At this other company,
Yep.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
I think the engineers, yeah, there might be some cross pollination there with the engineers as well across the different companies. People
Yep.
talk, and it's a small world, so there's relationships, and there's yeah.
Must be very
Yeah.
competitive between, but it sounds like from what you're saying, they sort of have a bit of friendly, competition as well. They do work with each other, and there must be, I mean, for
Um,
them to all survive.
there's yeah, it depends who you're talking to, like whether they're the owner or their owner engineer, or you're talking to an engineer or a product owner, or it's yeah. Some of them are definitely trying to keep everything secret and not divulge who the suppliers are. And I mean, you'll find yeah, I won't name names, but if you've looked at flashlights and you're like, what is that LED? Why won't they tell me what the LED is? They're trying to like guard the supplier, or it might be because it's like a no-name brand um, LED
Yeah,
that's being customized, and they don't want a competitor to go and reach out to the same supplier and ask for the exact same LED.
yeah. I mean, we know so many of the main LEDs out there anyway. I mean, all the luminous ones, the Osram ones.
Yep.
But there are some, yeah, like you said, there are some in-house ones. I know Nightcore have some. It's I
Yep.
don't know if they produce them or whether they have another, like you said, a secret supply that makes them, and they only sell them back to Nightcore because I don't see any other
Yeah.
companies that have
I
them.
know
But
that.
yeah,
I wonder if I can.
like the
Yeah,
EC
I'll
thirty
just say
three,
I
thirty
know that other
five.
companies are using the same supplier and they're using the same models, and you might have seen them in recent torches that
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
reviewed.
yeah. Yep.
Um, yeah, so there's definitely sharing of suppliers, and sometimes they don't want to divulge what the model is or where it's from, so that competitors can't just copy them. And yeah, as soon
Yep.
as they release another one catches up and releases the same thing or a similar thing, they might drop the price, and then it becomes harder to sell if the other one's being really, really competitive on price.
Yeah, that's a bad strategy.
Yeah, just need to be open. But yeah. Anyway, that was Manker was definitely yeah all of Tony and Ray. It was a lot of fun to visit, and Ray's got a really cool little Miata blue car with one more light. He's on the front of his car. It's got white a white text banner across the top of the windscreen saying one more light. I'm not sure if that means like I'll just buy
Just
one
one
more
more
light
light.
or just make one more light.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That'd be a
should
good
have
idea
asked.
for a t-shirt, Tim, like a t-shirt design,
One more
just one
light.
more light. Yeah. I mean
I think
that's
it's
any
Rays. Yeah,
enthusiast can relate to that.
yeah. We went out for lunch after that with Ray and Tony, and they took me to lunch and got to try out different foods again. And yeah, I think after that, Tony kindly ordered me a Didi, which is like a Uber in China, to go across to the next factory, which is not a flashlight factory, but a digital multimeter factory and oscilloscope factory. And that was about 45, 55 minutes away in the afternoon towards the end of the day. So I just got in the taxi and went to a Zoyi Zotec factory, and everyone's got build your dream electric vehicles. A lot of people, a lot of Didis and taxis are using electric vehicles that could be 5 or 10 years old, or even like one or two, like really recent or really old. And it doesn't matter what type, if it's a BYD or Tesla, I found myself as a passenger getting motion sickness. So whenever I was
Mm.
taking a taxi, so it made me seriously question whether or not I want to get an EV, because I took about 5 or 6 taxis while I was visiting southern China, um, in Shenzhen and Dongguan and in Guangzhou, and it just made me feel really motion sickness. And I don't normally get motion sickness, but it was just the braking, like the way the brakes work in an EV. It just
Mm.
churns my stomach, and I was like, I don't feel great. Like,
Yeah,
so
weird.
if
I've
by that,
never really been on one before, so but that's a bit disturbing, isn't it? Does it feel like does it feel like a tram or something? You've been on trams in Melbourne, or is it just sort of like
our trams are like really juddery. It's like and like slamming to the sides and brakes,
yeah.
and this is sort of like constant. The motion is like the acceleration and deceleration isn't as jarring. It's sort of smooth. It is smooth, but it's the rate at which it decelerates or accelerates. It just makes my stomach sick,
Mm.
and I don't know what. Uh, yeah, I'm just worried that if I get one in the future, and then the passengers, like my daughter and wife, might constantly feel motion sickness. and
People
I don't
throwing
want,
up in the car,
yeah,
and you have to clean it up.
yep. So I don't want that motion sickness. But, still might
Yeah.
try it out eventually. Yeah, I haven't gone into solar, and battery should have like a battery off grid type system would be great to set up one day, and yeah, have be less dependent on gas and the grid here. But the grid's severely under strain in Victoria. It needs more sources of energy. That's a different topic unto itself. But yeah, we got to the Zoyi factory. I'm not sure if you want to talk about that much. It's got to check out a multimeter factory because might as well talk. It is flashlight related. Um, I made a video demonstrating measuring pulse width modulation of an LED, so seeing how much it flickers. And there's a there's a video on YouTube where I've posted the details of this, and maybe I'll link it below. But um, you can hook up an oscilloscope. I won't really go through but yeah, this is Zoyi's 703S portable oscilloscope, and uh, just the battery's not hooked up. But the circuit, there's a thread on Budget Light forum. It talks about different kinds of optical sensors and what ones are good for measuring pulse width modulation to see how fast the flicker rate is. If you've got certain torches and the output's pretty low, you might notice it's flickering, and that could make you feel sick. If you're outside and you've got this constant flickering that's visible to you, you might start feeling a bit sick, or just weird. You might just feel a bit off. Uh, so if you looked at reviews by people like Zero Air, you'll notice that towards the end of the review, they've always got a bunch of different screenshots of the pulse width modulation of various different modes, so you can kind of get an idea of how fast the flicker rate is or how slow it is. Because um, if it's quite slow, you might start to notice the flickering, and it could be annoying. So I went out and bought this because I did not want to review an oscilloscope. I'm not an electronics expert, so I couldn't, in good conscience. Like Zoe offered to give me this. It's like, oh, do you want to make a review? And I'm like, no, no, no. I'm just. I saw this online. It's a really good price point. It's like 150 Australian dollars. Like, these can cost a lot more. If you get like a proper big expensive bench one, you could be spending like $600 or $800 or $1,000 on a scope. And I just wanted something that worked. I could take screenshots and measure the pulse width modulation. So I'm going to start adding that to my reviews, so you can try and it might not be, yeah, it's probably overkill in terms of measuring. It's like measuring the delta UV and how green or rosy a beam is. But some people like to see that information, so I figured I'll put it in my reviews and try to, yeah, use that. So I just reached out to them and said, hey, I'm going to be in Shenzhen. I liked using your products for my. I'm using their digital multimeters to measure the charges. I got two of them to measure the voltage and current, so I can see the charging profile of a charger as the voltage goes up, and then the current drops off. So you can see the algorithm being used for a charger. So I'm using two of their digital multimeters that cost like $30 each, which is pretty cheap. And it's got Bluetooth, and using parametric software parametric on Reddit. I'm using their software, Bluetooth BLE meters to measure uh, the voltage and current from each one. So that's two of the products I'm using, which is the Zoyi 300AB multimeter, and then now this 703S oscilloscope I'm trying to start using for measuring pulse width modulation. So I just rocked up they invited me to come along. So I'm like, cool, I'll go and visit you. Went to a hotel near the factory. It's literally across the road, and I didn't even notice until the next morning. I was like, hey, they, but that night they said, oh, do you want to catch up with us? We're gonna have a big dinner. So I went to like a hot pot type thing that was at the bottom of the hotel. Like, if we go out the hotel and like down the street, there's all these restaurants and stuff. So we went to the hot pot place, and I got into this room. It was like a big table with the lazy Susan, like the rotary. Get to rotate the dishes, and it was full of like engineers and product managers and different workers, just everyone sort of in there, having fun and food. And I think Mr. Lee was there. What was it? Yeah, he was just had a his wife just had a baby, so it was like really really young child. It's like yeah, really cute. And it was yeah nice to have a big welcoming dinner that night. And then the next morning I got up and talking to Julie from Zoe. I was like, oh, yep, we'll meet outside. And like, where are you guys? Like, oh, wait, we're right there. And like, I turn around and I can see like a big building, and at the top of it, it's got Zoe. Like, so it was hard to miss if I just look around and look at the sky, and like there's a building there with Zoe. So we went out to there and checked out the factory. I met up with Paul from Western Australia. He's working at Shenzhen University, working on a bunch of it's a really cool project. I'm not sure if I can talk about it, but yeah, so really cool mechatronics type project. We got all these motors, and yeah, I won't go into that detail in case it's sensitive. But yeah, he's been doing a whole bunch of tours of Kaohsiung Bay, or the electronics market, like helping people navigate the markets when they visit Shenzhen. And I got to talking to him on Discord on Strange Parts, like Scotty's Strange Parts Discord channel. He's made a whole bunch of awesome videos about like building an iPhone in Shenzhen, and different factory tour videos that he's produced. And I joined the Discord, and there's a China channel, so I just talked on there. And yeah, met Paul online there from Western Australia. He's already in Shenzhen working temporarily. And yeah, mentioned that I was going to visit some factories and Zoe, the oscilloscope factory, and he said, "Oh, cool, could I join?" So, yep, he came along, and we both checked out Zoe. Oh, they called Zotec in the US because the Zoe brand name was already taken, so that causes a bit of confusion because they prefer the name Zoe, but in the US, if they can't sell it, their products as Zoe because it's already taken by another company. So they had to register a different trademark, Zotec, in the US. But yeah, we got to check out their soldering irons and oscilloscopes and different sensors, and look at the manufacturing process, and went through each part and how they do the calibration. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. Had lunch afterwards, and I think that was. I think I took it easy that day. Like we just had lunch, and then I went back to the hotel and just washed my clothes, and took it really easy because of like 3 or 4. I think it was like 4 days in. I needed to wash my clothes, and luckily there's like a washing machine, and there's a whole kerfuffle of. I managed to lock my clothes in the washer dryer and didn't know how to open it. Went down and asked the staff, and they showed me how to like pop the thing out and unlock the washing machine. Like getting water everywhere, and like, okay, sorry. I guess you live and learn. And yeah, that was managed to get wash my clothes and dry them, and that was all good. And then
Wait, you went
uh,
4 days. You went 4 days without washing your clothes.
yeah, I packed enough clothes. I brought a suitcase with me,
All
so I
right.
packed
Okay.
enough
Yeah. Yeah.
clothes for like 7 days. Oh, but I only had enough shirts for like 4, so I had
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
undies and socks for the whole week. But I only brought about 4 days worth of shirts. And then
Right. Right.
luckily, I think Wuben gave me a shirt on the 6th day, which was good. Nice of them. uh, but
So yeah,
um,
walking Wuben brand around China.
I took it quite easy that day, and then I think that was a Thursday probably, and then the Friday went to Acebeam, so caught another Diddy. Like, oh no, it's a build your dream EV. I did enjoy the.
You
It
need
was
those
a
travel
yeah
sickness pills, man. Those what do you call
yeah
them? Travel calm, or whatever. I get motion sickness on boats, and like I just throw up. Like
yeah
I can't deal with it. I don't know why, but
yeah.
yeah, it's like the
That's the
worst
same
feeling.
with boats. Like yeah, went to
Yeah.
Cairns one time, the Great Barrier Reef for the first time, and
Oh my
I
god.
was like
Yeah.
yeah, and then I was fine for like the first 15 minutes. Then we start getting into choppy water, and it's just like oh, this is
Oh
not
man,
good.
is the worst. A long time ago, because I'd never been on a big like a proper boat before. My ex
Yeah,
booked a trip, one of those fishing trips, and you'd go
yeah,
out and you could catch like really big fish and that kind of thing. That
yeah,
on the way out there, I felt like I just died or something. I couldn't get up. I was just lying on the deck, just throwing up, and
yeah,
we couldn't go back as well. So we had to hang there for about 3 4 hours, and I was
yeah,
just watching everyone catch all these fish, and I was like, oh my god. And
yeah.
yeah, the rest of the day when I got back, I was just there. I just on electrolyte water, and yeah,
Yeah. It's not fun.
yeah,
I ended
we
up,
need those
yeah.
pills.
I felt a little bit sick on the way to Acebeam, but it wasn't not as yeah, not too bad. It
Are
was
you
just sort
gonna
of
throw up in their factory?
didn't feel like yeah,
Yeah.
didn't feel like throwing up, which was good. It was just felt a little bit off, but from the ride, and it's just to build your dream EVs anyway. Oh, just EVs in
Yeah.
general. But
Yeah.
there was heaps of mountains going through Shenzhen, and I didn't really recognize any of it until we got to like the local area where the, the industrial area that they're in, and I'm like, oh, okay, I recognize these spots. Like that was the hotel I stayed in the year before with Neil, and then yeah, um, finally got to the industrial place. Like, cool, just let me off here. And the guy wanted to drive into the compound. Like, no, no, just drop me off here, and I'll walk. So I walked up and like, oh, security guard, and like, yeah, I want to. Was like, how do I negotiate me trying to visit? I'm trying to visit Acebeam. Got my translation, Microsoft Translation app out, and I'm like, I want to go to Acebeam, and he was like, yeah, okay, and it's like point, I'm like, okay, and I just walked through, and just based on memory, walked to the Acebeam factory. Memory is quite good when I'm looking at visually at stuff, like mapping out things in my head. So I can remember where I've been and like different
You have
locations and
excellent
stuff.
memory, man. I'm so impressed. Like whenever I go on trips, I can never recall them to the detail that you do. It's like you're telling me
Yeah,
every single thing you did every day, and you're like, oh, the stops is at 20 stops. Like
yeah.
for me in my
This
head,
is
I'm just
sort
yeah.
of,
I went from point A to point B, and it took me maybe like a few hours. That's that's
I
all
guess
I've got. You
this episode is more of an like an abridged version.
oh my
I
god,
think at
abridged.
yeah at the end of each
Yeah.
day,
Oh,
I sort of documented everything that happened and sent notes
yeah.
off to you and Mike. And yeah, I'm not
Those
sure
are
if I should
really
publish
interesting.
those notes.
No, I think you should. That
Yeah,
was really cool. Kind of entertaining as well because just some of the detail
yeah,
that you go into to things. I'm like, man,
yeah,
it's. Can't believe you remember this stuff. I think you were talking about the washing. You were telling me about the washing, and it was like a couple
yeah,
paragraphs of exactly what was going on, and the machine broke and
yeah,
this and that. And then I went out, and then I did. It was.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you should. I reckon you should just do it. That's
Yeah.
it's part of
Oh,
the
there
whole
was
experience.
more adventures after like visiting Ace
Yeah,
Beam. Whereas another
yeah,
washing machine. But
yeah.
there
No,
was
yeah. Really
yeah, I
admire
got
your attention to detail to things, Tim.
yeah,
Like, I don't think I've got enough brain processing power to like to store that much detail and stuff. Honestly, yeah.
I had
But
to note down at the end of the day because I figured like a month later I'll probably forget a lot of the fine detail. Or I might just
yeah,
not just things that were important to me that day that were just annoying me or I found interesting or that
yeah.
they were in my head that day but then would have forgotten about
Are
like a
you good
week or
at
two later.
remembering strings of numbers? Like you know how they've got those pi memorization competitions, like
Uh only
memory
if
pi to
I
100
can
decimal points, or something like that.
if I see stuff visually or if I take if someone says a number in a certain way, if they say like if someone says a mobile number and breaks it up into two digits, that just weirds me out. Like, are you serious? Like, like in Australia, you
Yeah.
like usually say four digits, 3 3, and that's just
Yes, yes.
how people say it. And then some people like there's like 1 2 3
Yeah,
4 5 6. Like, stop doing that, please. Like, you
yeah.
just read it out properly
Yeah,
because
yeah, I know what
that's
you
just
mean.
how
So
you.
it's like 0433, then you stop three, another
Yeah.
three. But are you good at remembering birth dates and stuff like that? Uh,
Not great.
I'm
Like,
just thinking,
if I see someone's passport or driver's license, I might memorize the number.
yeah. But you can
Hard,
memorize. But do
yeah,
you memorize all like your card details and all that stuff? So you don't need to.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll memorize like
Man,
debit
that's
cards or
pretty
credit
cool.
cards.
Yeah.
Just
Uh,
It's just if there's certain situations where things throw me off and I don't memorize it, or I confuse. Yeah, it's like with my mum's birthday, and there's always
Yeah,
but something in
I've
my head always screwed me up between 2 months, and I know it's July, but I always like throws me off as it being in June, and like something about it.
yeah. Well, I've got an uncle
Ju-
in yeah, I've got an uncle and he's just remembers like car plates. He just looks at them and he can just
ju-
remember things like that or dates of events and stuff like that. I'm not that I'm really not the best at numbers, and people just think that I should be because I'm Asian or whatever. So you must be really good at maths, but I'm actually fairly average. So I'm always
ju-
like, yeah, we
I think it's sort of context. Like my brain switches off when I'm driving. Like I won't try to memorize plates, but if something happens and there's an incident or someone's being reckless, I'll start memorizing plates. Like,
yeah. Oh, you see, turn it on.
yeah, if it's like an aggressive driver and it's
Yeah,
like road rage type of incidents might happen, I'll be like, okay, I'll need to memorize their plate, like because the dash cam might not pick it up if the focal point's out, or I might
yeah.
just say because the audio is turned on the dash cam, I'll just say what the number plate is so that at least, um, yeah, at
So
least the dash
audio,
cam picks
yeah,
it up. If you don't have to
yeah.
worry about it being blurry at like 50 meters if they're speeding off or something.
That's cool. But when you remember stuff like you recalling all these events in China, do you see pictures in your head or like of the events playing out in your head?
Yeah, just
Is that
replaying,
yeah?
just replay the event.
Yep.
Um,
There's people. I don't. When I close my eyes, I don't really see much. It's apparently there's a it differs between people,
mm.
but I can't visualize things very well in my head. So
Like right now, I'm thinking like I just walked in with my suitcase through the
yeah,
security gate, and then it's all sunny, and like walked up to the Acebeam building, and like there's the big entrance, so it's got Acebeam, and then
yeah.
Jesse or Manhua came out and greeted me. Oh, there's a random guy upstairs, like hello, I'm like hello. I didn't know
See,
he
that's
was.
amazing, man. That's abnormal.
Um,
I can't remember stuff like
yeah,
that.
it's just sort of
Yeah,
replaying. But I don't have a photographic memory. I don't think. I just sort of certain
yeah.
things. I'll probably
Probably
forget
better
stuff
than
from like
average,
a
I
year.
reckon. Yeah,
But we got to Chris and yeah, the boss and Jesse and Chris. Yeah, Chris and Jesse took me into the conference room, and there's a bunch of prototypes and different things in a cabinet, and then out on the conference table there was heaps of upcoming torches that we got to play with, and like different tactical ones. But it's kind of like they got everything here. Might move this stuff off the desk again. But I've got a backlog of can't complain, but a backlog of torches to review. It's like 7 torches, and
whoa,
yeah,
man.
it's a T35. So they
Yep.
kindly gave me the two T35s, which I think I'm guessing they're more outdoor than tactical because Acebeam's kind of got a theme where they make tactical looking torches, but they've got an outdoor user interface where it doesn't. It might not provide direct access to turbo from off, and it's just got like a memorized UI where it memorizes the last use mode, which is
Yeah,
not
you got to
great for
leave it.
tactical
So it's like
purposes.
you got to leave it in turbo, otherwise it doesn't memorize it.
Yep,
It would be
that
good
was
if they would be able to swap the UIs. Like in some of these other lights, you can press and hold the side switch for like 5 seconds, and then it will swap
yep,
to the second UI that just
yeah.
only has turbo or turbo and strobe. If they just added that, I'm sure people would
Yep.
be happy. For
I
me, I
think
don't.
their P
Yeah,
series, some of their P series do that. Like you can,
yeah.
I think, and they're more
P16, I'm
tactical.
not
So
sure.
they were like,
Yeah.
well, we've got like the P17 and all these different ones. Like, okay, because the new ones that they've got coming up, uh, can't talk about them. Let's just say there might be a
Oh,
similar
I
user
was
interfaces.
thinking,
So they,
what nuance I was thinking? What info have you got?
oh, there's
Yeah.
other stuff coming up. I won't talk about it
Okay.
because they're a
Yeah.
bit. They didn't want me to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, that's
Understandable.
just I did a video of Acebeam this time. Last time I did one last time, but yeah, I didn't publish it because there was sort of didn't want me to publish it, and they had there was a bunch of torches that weren't released yet, and they were worried. Yeah, I guess they don't
Oh,
want to
okay.
divulge
Yeah.
stuff that's coming up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
similar situation this time, and didn't want to divulge a whole bunch of upcoming models. I think I
Because
got to go in. Yeah.
sorry,
Sorry.
you
Yeah.
go. Continue. No, you continue.
Oh yeah, I just went to like the CNC lathe room, and they got like they did quality assurance checking on the the anodized parts that come in. So they're checking, trying to make sure the anodizing's all correct on the parts that come in, and then we've got the raw materials where they're cutting the tubes and using lathes and CNC machines to create all of the aluminium hosts and stuff. And so I got to see all that
Okay.
again and record. I recorded some more videos of that, and I'll produce some videos and share them with Acebeam and see if they like them. I do that with
Yep.
each factory when I produce a video. I'm waited till I got back to Australia to edit them, because
Yep.
by the time I get back each night to the hotel somewhere, I don't have the brain power to go, and I'm too tired. I need to go, like, just wash my clothes and rest, so
Yeah.
I'm all rested for the next day. I just can't spend the time editing
Yeah.
videos, and if I just can't see the landscape or appreciate China if I'm just keeping my head stuck in an iPad or something trying to edit videos. So
Understandably, like editing is such, oh man, it's such a drain at times.
yeah,
It's the bane of my existence. Like that's why I really do basic cuts in my videos.
yeah,
Yeah, some people
that's the
outsource it. Yeah, been looking at that, but yeah.
that's why I prefer the long format video, like with the Flamingo. That became really hard to edit because I had to cut out every single instance of certain products because they couldn't
Oh
mention the
yeah,
products.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's such a pain.
it would have been easy just to go, okay, put 5 clips or 10 clips together, bam, and we're good to go. But
Yeah,
then um, the other thing is, when I recorded uh, at Flamingo, I had two mics. One of the microphones was on Ted, and one of the microphones was on me, and there was points in the conversation where they were talking in Mandarin and explaining. So I'd ask something, and Ted might have asked the engineer the same question in English, even though the engineer also kind of speaks English and understands bits and pieces of it too. So he could kind of. But Ted went ahead and just clarified in Mandarin what the question was to him in Mandarin, and the lady too. There was two engineers there. Or the
yeah.
lady was the
I saw
engineer.
that.
The guy was
I
his
saw that
product
video.
manager.
They were kind of talking to each other on the side, kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe he was just trying to ask them. I could understand a little bit of it. My Mandarin's like sucks, but yeah, it sounded like they were just like clarifying, making it more clear in Mandarin so they can understand it. Sometimes I know
Yep.
maybe they'd not get the English translation
So I kind of
properly.
edited the
Yeah.
audio so that I'd suppress that audio, and then
Oh
had
yeah,
myself as the primary asking the question.
yeah. It's
um,
difficult, isn't it? To
but
yeah,
I didn't
especially
want
the
to
different audio channels.
offend
Like
anyone listening, because they might be listening in from China and like ruining the experience for them.
yeah. So with
Um,
Ace Beam,
yeah,
I've always been curious about Ace Beam because they seem to me like they come up with some pretty like different designs. Even with their M1, M2, they're trying to make some. They're trying to do something different with some of the even the W35 that has that zoomable LEP with the prism lens. I've never seen that sort of prism lens.
yeah, like
Well,
the
actually,
digital
I
type
think
of
that
diffuser,
yeah,
digital
doesn't
diffuser.
that
Yeah.
that might come from Flamingo? Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it
Um.
might. Yeah.
Uh,
The-
That's, yeah, something I can't talk about. I think
yeah.
that answers your question. Um,
Oh, okay.
but,
Yeah, yeah,
uh, but the digital diffuser I've seen in like the Manker Crown, where it takes the Manker Crown. I think it's just got a standard LED, and then it's got this diffuser type window thing. Like, but it's a different type of. I think they're different types of diffusers. Like, I think the one on the Manker
yeah,
Crown is more like the those windows in conference rooms where you click a switch, or if you're in a hotel room, some
yeah.
hotels in China, you click a button and you've got like a window so everyone in the room can see you having a shower, or you can press the button and it makes it diffuse so you can't see the person having a
Oh,
shower.
okay.
Um,
I see. Yeah. So it's like a variable. You can get it from various degrees of blurry to not, clear.
yeah,
Yeah, or
so I
some.
think the Manker Crown one's a sort of on-off type of thing, but then the
Yeah,
Acebeam W35 is a variable, can transition between each step to make it gradually more and more floody.
yeah. So it's not seamless, but there's like little steps where it just moves the contraption inside or whatever to make it more
Yeah, Oh,
like
just the
blurry.
actual the lens or the LCD filter part will just gradually become more and more diffused to make the beam
LCD
more
filter.
floody.
Yeah. Oh,
But
that's
yeah,
pretty cool.
they've got really
Um,
cool
yeah,
upcoming torches and what do you probably classify them
because
as like hunting type torches.
they're a smaller operation, right, Tim? Like Acebeam compared to
um,
say NextTorch, the likes of Olight, that kind of thing. But
yeah, they're a
but they
little
do
bit
seem to
smaller
come up
than
with some really cool stuff.
I'd say they're probably on par with in terms of size about Lumen Top. Um,
Okay.
Manker's like a little bit smaller than those two, like Lumen Top and Acebeam. And then you've got in terms of size, I'm trying to think of is it Wuben is jumps up as being much bigger. Like there's a big jump up in size between
Mm.
the factory size of like Lumen Top Acebeam, and then you go up to Wuben, and I guess you probably transitioned there after they had lunch with Acebeam, and then went back to a hotel near Haoxiang Bay, which is an electronics market, and the hotel that was booked was like a 4-star hotel, which is, I mean, that's good usually. But then when I went there, like the carpets were all dirty, everything smelled like smoke. It was like a Korean style
I got your message about
hotel room, and I
that.
was just sort of
Yeah.
like, I do not want to be here. Like, can I just get my money back?
Did you get ripped?
And
Did
like,
you get ripped off, man? They sound like they
no,
might have. It's that's
no, they refunded the money, or the
okay.
online system
Yeah,
refunded it, and I just walked out and like, sorry, I just no, like, I can't stay
yeah.
here. Um, and then literally across the road, there's the 5-star hotel, which is like only a little bit more expensive. We're talking like $20 difference per night or something in Australian dollars, and that was
Jeez.
like way better. And
Yeah. Yeah.
they got like robot things for deliveries, so if people want to get stuff delivered to their room at like midnight,
Oh
like they can
wow.
get the robot will come out to the foyer, and
Yeah.
they can put the delivery inside the robot, and then it closes and goes up the lift and then goes out to the level and
Yeah.
delivers
Yeah.
the I didn't use that, but I
Oh,
saw someone using it at midnight when I was cleaning my clothes at nighttime, and I accidentally
yeah.
put my brain wasn't functioning at that point at night, and I'm like, I need to clean my clothes, and it was all uh yeah, getting ahead of myself in the timeline, but
You
uh,
trash the robot or something in the middle of the night.
I
Bump
put
into it.
I just put like cleaning stuff in the dryer instead of the washing machine, because I had two
Yeah.
dryers and two washing
Yeah.
machines, and I was like, uh oh.
Man, it does sound like a pretty intense trip.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like a lot of what I mean every day you just visiting all these factories, and there's a lot of socializing as well. Which I like
Yeah.
for me, I only can take a certain amount of socializing each day. Otherwise, I do get burnt out.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I
pretty
can understand.
introverted, so
Yeah, by the end of the day, like I can understand you're pretty much gone.
that was only halfway through too, because I was sort of got back at 1 o'clock or something to the hotel, and then didn't want the hotel. Went across the road, went to
Yeah.
that one. In the background, my wife and mother-in-law are like helping me out with everything, because I
Yeah.
couldn't navigate stuff. They were booking things online and getting refunds for me, and being
What's
awesome.
so like going back to AceBeam again, what's some things that you can share about the factory that they're okay with you sharing that maybe people out there would want to know?
Um,
Maybe some of their production line,
yeah, I
how
guess
they
there's no
design
real.
lights, what they're yeah.
I could probably describe the layout like as soon as I go through the entry and like the foyer. Behind that, there's like a conference room, and got prototypes and stuff and products on display. And then as as you walk towards the left, there's a big corridor, and the corridor goes down towards the CNC lathe area. So at the very end, there's a door, and then opens up to a big CNC lathe area where they've got like there's like a dozen or 20 something machines. Like can't remember off the top of my head if it was like 20. Uh, yeah, 20, in my head, 20 is like the ballpark figure of how many different CNC and lathes are in that room.
Yeah.
But that corridor leading up to it, on the left hand side, there's an office for their marketing area. There's a product room where they've got all of the packaged products that are all ready to be shipped, and like the packaging area and stuff. And on the right hand side of that corridor, they've got the like the boss's office. Where he was talking to suppliers that day and had some meetings with them. So he popped his head in at the start to say hello to me, and then he had to go back to having meetings with the suppliers. Um, but so you got the boss's room, and then you got a lab where they've got the integrating spheres and measuring and doing different types of testing.
Yep.
I did videos of like that last time, but didn't share it. Yeah, they don't really want to publish all the details and
Yeah.
leak products. But then next to that, there's a big assembly area. I think there was um, something like 4 different lines. There's like quite a big bunch of production lines um, for assembling all the torches, and they had some. Um, I think there was negatively pressured, some negatively pressured areas, not as big as NEXTORCH, but
Yep.
smaller ones.
Yeah.
I probably
Because
not even
they
sure
do
if I
have,
should be
they've got
going into that level
excellent,
of detail.
yeah, because they've got excellent like quality flashlights, and like I like how they
Yeah,
always try to, well, not always, but they've got some lights that have a unique selling proposition. So 2-in-1 beams. We've not seen a light
yep,
before that has like the M2 or the M1 that has those. What do you call it?
yep.
Like an actual like
Spot and flood
convex lens.
switching.
Yeah,
Oh, the
that's pretty.
biconvex lens on the
Yeah,
LED.
yeah, yeah, and it fits in such a like narrow tube as well. I mean, so there's something they're doing that I like as enthusiasts, as a flashlight enthusiast like you, when they come up with a new light, it does make it gets me really interested, and it's more so
Yep,
than say sometimes you have a large company that creates just pumps out lights every month, but you look at
yep.
them and you're like, yeah, okay, cool, looks good, but it doesn't really get you excited. Um, that's
I'm
how I
pretty
sort of feel
excited
about
about.
Acebeam.
Yeah, I'm pretty like last time. There were certain products they didn't show me, which would have been like the W35, which is awesome, but it would have been cool
Mm.
to see. Um, and then the ones they showed me this time, I mean, I got to see the M1 last time, or a prototype of it, which was really cool. I couldn't talk
Excitement
about
out
it;
of
had to wait.
out of 10, how cool was this thing that you saw, like excitement level? 10
Like a
if you had.
probably like an 8, 8
Oh,
or a
okay,
9.
that's pretty good. That's
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, you've
it's
seen a lot of lights, so yeah.
it's thinking bigger torches these days.
Okay,
So
yeah,
there's some completely new type of torches that they're building again. Like the M2 is quite different, and then this is more traditional style torch but bigger. And
yep.
there are some, I know they're working on something, but I probably shouldn't know about it. Can talk about it offline.
Right, you're like a
Yeah,
if an alien spacecraft landed in Melbourne and you just got to go onto that ship
yeah,
and observe it, you'd be the perfect person to interview. Like you just
yeah.
remember everything, and
Just seeing every
you could draw
like
out the diagrams. Are you any good at drawing, Tim? Or
not
you
really. I
couldn't?
can map it out, but
Yeah, you
I
could do
mean,
like a, what do
nobody
you call
wants
it,
to
like an
talk about
overhead.
suppliers.
Yeah,
But I mean, I can connect the dots. Like nobody wants to talk about suppliers and where, yeah. But if you
mm,
look at multiple factories, you can start to see, okay, they're obviously using these different companies are using the same things for batteries, or these these two companies are using the same LED provider, even though they have none of them have specified who the supplier
mm,
is. You know, it's from the same factory, and
like
then
a
you've got
gentleman's
enthusiasts
agreement.
on, and they're trying to keep it secret from other places, or if it's a really good product that's been promoted quite well, they'll say, actually, we're using the same supplier too. Because it's a benefit to
Yep,
have, like, if it's a highly regarded type of component, then they'll want to promote the fact that they're using it.
that's true.
But
Yep, if it's a
if
smaller
it's
company or
yeah.
something. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a big-ish. It's not. It's a modest size operation. It's like mostly seems mostly self-contained. I think, like, I assume nearly everyone gets anodizing done at a different factory. They'll get the aluminium cut, do the CNCing, and then send the hosts off to another place to get to anodize. I yeah can't really get around the batteries and the anodizing. It's usually done elsewhere.
Do,
Um,
do you see any? Because you visited all these companies, you've seen a lot, quite a few of them. Do you see like potential for any of these smaller companies to to rise up, or do you see more
Yep.
potential in some of them becoming a lot bigger in the next few years, based on just
Yeah,
their work practices, their engineering, and what you've seen in their
yeah.
factories?
I think there's potential for Acebeam and Lumentop in the short term to increase their capacity. And yeah, it's but at the same time, as soon as they increase their what they're doing, um, like if I'm not even sure if Acebeam, I haven't thoroughly checked the assembly area to see if they're doing their own drivers. Yeah, I think they
Yeah,
design their own drivers. I'm not sure if they get a third party to produce them, but
yeah,
I just haven't seen that part of the factory. But they could take on SMT development with their own pick and place machine and reflow oven and control that aspect of it. But it's another investment of probably less than
very.
$100,000, but it's still
Oh,
quite an
really?
investment.
To make those driver boards, they're not they chips, kind of, right? I don't know. What's the difference
The
between a
machines
chip
themselves,
and a driver board?
like the PCB, they can get that made and then bring them in as sheets and then go and do their own assembly
Mm.
and put the components on. I'm not
Maybe
sure
it's
if they're
cheaper
doing
to
that.
get a company
Um,
to it, or maybe it's like that seems
um,
pretty cheap, to like a hundred grand for a machine like that can produce your own drivers. That seems,
I
or
think so,
but I guess you'd
ballpark.
need to know what you're doing as well.
Uh, I'm probably speaking out of like you're probably looking at yeah, it might be 100 grand just for the pick and place machine and some of the like the feeders and stuff and conveyor belts. Like, not sure how much the reflow oven would cost, and then the
Mm.
automated optical inspection might be even more. But it's not
Imagine bringing
not.
some of this stuff over to Australia. Like,
Oh, you've got like unexpected maker Sion in Melbourne who's got that kind of setup where he's got his own
yeah,
pick and place machine and reflow oven, but doesn't quite have the automated optical inspection setup. But
he
so
makes
it's
his
not.
own lights.
Yeah. He makes his own boards, like little. Um,
Okay, yeah,
yeah, it's like if you've seen Adafruit with all the different types of like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth enabled boards for just doing hobby projects and whatnot. So he's mass producing those in like units, like doing like 500 boards at a time and as a batch to
yeah.
provide. He provides them to Adafruit and then Adafruit sells them. So he's like a supplier for Adafruit and yeah, making different types of boards. So they could, I think the Lumentop and Acebeam could do that too. I'm not sure if they're already. I didn't notice any SMT at Lumentop, and I didn't look thoroughly when I went to the assembly area this time. They let me go in to check out the laser engraver and record that part, but and I saw like a clean room type setup, which I assume that they were probably doing the reflectors there and cleaning the LEDs and making sure there was no dust in the head when they're assembling it.
Yeah.
I'm just assuming that when I saw it at the production line. But I didn't thoroughly go up the other end of the room and then look around to see if there was any SMT stuff going on. But yeah, that's if you think about NextTorch and Olight, um, I don't know what is and isn't public knowledge. Like they're looking at expanding and relocating factories. So they're both, I think they're both building factories outside of. Olight, I think, is building a factory outside of their current location in Dongguan or Shenzhen, and NextTorch is looking at expanding and creating yet another factory. They've already got quite a few factories as a part of the Power Source group, and
Yeah.
they're looking at building another one to expand. So they're already big companies, just becoming even bigger. Um, so
You know, they got
yeah,
Next
probably
Nextorch have an office in Germany, but they're not. I don't know. They produce things there. I think it's just a distribution center, maybe.
yeah. No, I'm not too sure if it's could be their distribution. Like they've got an office in Guangzhou as well, which I thought was strange, but that's more online type of sales or logistics, I think,
They seem to be
instead
a
of
gigantic company, hey? Because it's producing all kinds of
Yep.
products, like tools and things as well.
Would love to see like Manker become bigger, and there's or even Raylight with the customs. But
Yeah,
yeah, that was we went to Wuben after the whole fiasco of changing hotels, and I didn't. Yeah, I was getting sweaty at that point. It's quite hot it's humid and hot in Shenzhen. We're up north in Shanghai, Suzhou. It's sort of like Melbourne weather. It's cold in the morning, 23, 24 in the afternoon, and it's fine, and it's cold again at night. But then in Shenzhen, it's sort of more humid and probably 25 degrees overnight, and can hit 30 during the day and be humid. So I was sort of sweating, pants off, and wanted to have a shower at the hotel. So I had a quick shower and then jumped in um, a taxi, another BYD, Build Your Dreams, at Wuben. And we're just going to sort of catch up and say hello in the afternoon and then go for dinner. But it sort of turned into a whole. Got there and met Xiao. She's the campaign lead for the Kickstarter campaign for the Wuben E1. So got she demonstrated where are we? It's like the Wuben E1 EDC type of torch. So Xiao demonstrated that to me, and the selfie stick. They're like, cool. I probably won't use it because I got an Android phone. But I mean, they made a magnetic MagSafe type sticker that fits on the back of your thing, and yeah, it could be useful for shooting products where I need to have some additional lighting to light up the product instead of just relying on lighting from a room. So, and as someone
yeah.
pointed out, they think it's for Douyin live streamers. I'm like, yeah, okay, I can't argue with that because when I was in Suzhou walking along the river with my daughter and her friend, her cousin, they're sort of jumping on rocks near a river, and it was all nice. And then all of a sudden, you see this lady who's like dancing with the tripod, and she's like
Oh
making all
my
these
god.
suggestive moves and stuff. Like, okay, kids, let's keep going. But
This happens at
obviously
my
got like
gym.
a
Happens in
iPhone
my gym
and
all the time, man.
yeah, it's just
Pulling
live
out,
streaming
yeah.
and using their
Just
iPhone on a
doing
tripod.
like dancing and stuff in the middle of the gym. Like,
Yep,
do some
it's sort
proper
of
working out.
so. I think they could use like a tripod setup or setup. Yeah,
Yeah.
they could either use that or use a purpose built.
It's
I
got
mean,
that.
you can get
It's got a
lights for this.
1/4 inch hole at the bottom. You screw that into some kind of tripod or whatever attachment.
Yeah, so that I mean, yeah, you could use it for live streaming purposes. I'm not sure if that's the main intended use because yeah, I mean the setting that person chose was like they had the afternoon sunset over the river, and that was all like yeah. If you're talking about color temperature, it was probably like um 400 Kelvin or something. It was like a bit yellower, like the sun coming through the clouds and stuff was sort of
Yeah, 4000
red
K.
haze
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like bright blue sky. It was sort of a nice warm light coming across the river and the trees and stuff. But yeah, I could see people using that for for live streaming, and yeah,
I think like for live streaming, but on your phone, because that obviously like that phone flashlight, it sucks. It's
yep,
I did a quick video of it before, like just trying to compare, having this on full blast 100% versus your normal phone. I mean, if you look at these little SMD LEDs in there,
yep,
I'd say maybe two of them are, I don't know, maybe two of them are equivalent to like your flashlight,
yep,
on your phone. So, I mean, there's so many of them. How
yeah,
many? There's two, four, there's tons of them there, like on the middle mode, with all of them activated. So, yeah,
yeah.
this would be a good
Setting
little thing. You can actually plug it into your phone as well. If you got a
the
USB
phone
C
flashlights
cable.
are pretty like I used to think phone flashlights are really really bad, and I mean in terms of throw, there's no throw. They're just really floody. It's like a mule,
Yep.
so you don't get any throw. The on the Pixel 6a, the beam is really, really good. It's like high cry,
Really?
3500 Kelvin and 90 something cry, 3500 Kelvin, and it's like
Wow.
slightly negative DUV, so it's slightly rosy, and
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
impressive.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but Wuben's obviously has to compete with that, so they need to use a high cry beam as well, and use
Yep.
like different color temperatures to differentiate from just your phone, which might just have one color temperature and sort of stuck in terms of brightness.
Would like to
But
see them use a higher capacity battery pack one day, but with these flat
yeah,
style lights, it's not it's not all too much you can do with them in terms of battery packs. You just got those lithium polymer
yeah,
ones that they can stick in there, probably like a rectangular one inside somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering why. I don't know if they could change the yeah. You know how it comes out. Um, I was like, why can't this battery be attached to the base instead? And
What do
then
you
you
mean?
just pull a you see when you pull this up, you could just pull a circle ring up with the LED strip,
Oh,
and then have
yeah,
the
I see what you're
battery.
saying.
That
Yeah.
way,
You could
it would only
put
change the function slightly. So if someone is accustomed to using those ring, so like this, oh,
yeah,
can't see. If you use it like a ring on your phone to hold the phone up, but then they
that's
made the
right.
point that even if we did that with the battery, you wouldn't be able to lift that up because the magnet wouldn't be strong enough to hold the phone. And like, well, that's cool. Just put a sticker there instead. So have an actual double-sided sticker like you would. People already
Mm.
do that. They buy a keyring stand, a flip stand. So
Yeah.
this could be a flip stand with LEDs in the ring if they change the design. But uh, I
Maybe
don't
they
think
could
they'll
put a
change the
larger battery
design.
in there as well. Yeah. If it's
Yeah, it's quite
yeah.
yeah cool
I
concept. Trying different things.
Yeah, and I think it's not. I mean, this is targeted to a much broader audience as well. Maybe I could definitely see fashion influencers and stuff like that. Just using this on their phones. It's got a decent battery, it's decent runtime. I don't think it's if you're making videos longer than 30 minutes, if you're using this on full blast, it's not going to last you longer than 30 minutes. But if you have one of those USB-C cables, you can use reverse charging,
Yep.
put it onto your
And you
phone
got
that
like
way.
guess there's a phone for it's the one I use for recording the Pixel 6a, and you
Yeah.
can use it for selfie mode or flip it back, and then you've just got it for lighting up
Yep.
a subject. So adding extra light for a subject, and yeah, it's good how you've got that variable output. You can have it really low, so you're not overexposing the subject with the light. If you make it
And it
really,
doesn't
really
step
dim,
down as well, which is great.
yep.
Did
So
a
that was
just a basic ceiling bounce test on it.
that yeah. Met Xiao A for the first time. Xiao is like small, and then A literally like the letter A. I think
Mm.
it's a nickname. But yeah, when I went into the Wuben offices, got dropped off, and I sort of just found my way there because I'd already visited the offices the year before. So I just walked up to the building, went up the lift to level 5, and went through the entry, and then said hello at the entry. Abigail, one of their head of marketing, met me and took me to their office and presented me with the T4 sample. Probably, are we allowed to talk about the T4? I'm not sure if it's
It is well, it is actually on the Wuben website. They've got
okay.
photos of it. As
Yeah,
long as maybe we don't maybe go through all the.
I won't. Yeah, I won't go into it.
Suppose
But
we
yeah,
can.
there's like a
I've got it
tactical
here.
14500.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's sort of
there
the
it
one
is.
I've got is really an early prototype that yeah, I won't show it because it's sort of it's the battery or not the battery. The button is not dual step. I think the
Yeah,
one you've got is dual step, whereas the hey,
dual
let's not
step.
talk about
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yes,
Um
yes. We'll do it away. It's 14500. They've changed the battery config then. Okay, it's not that
oh,
anymore.
sorry, is it
So
maybe I
13,
was
18350.
I think I misspoke. No, it's 18.
Yeah,
Let me double check. Yeah, sorry, it's 18350. My bad.
850. Yeah, all good.
Um yeah, got it early prototype too.
Yeah,
But
but it does exist. It does exist.
Yep.
And
It's got a nice
yeah,
reflector. I don't think they'll change the reflector design, but that's a really good throwy reflector.
D- does yours have a flat button on the end as well, like a so tail stands?
It does, but I don't know if they're going to change it. And they've got the USB. We probably
USB
can't.
underneath.
Is it literally on the website? Not sure.
Yeah, the photo that there is a photo on there. It says
Yep.
okay, something. Sign up for this, and you get a sample of our next T4. So it's like some kind of promotion
Oh,
that they
okay.
had. Yeah,
That's
I
yeah.
don't
It's
think
got
it's really like yeah,
hidden USB-C charging, so the
yeah,
nice. I wish NEXTORCH would do something like this, like have a hidden USB-C charging port. That way,
yeah.
police and users could just unscrew, plug in the USB, and not take the battery out. Um,
It's like the
anyway,
best go between, isn't it?
but that was a whole. Um, yeah, so Abigail gave me the T4 sample to play with and provide some feedback, and I did that. And she also gave me a big T-shirt, which when I say big, it's like 4XL, but that just fit me because I'm a bit chubby. Um, so that, yeah, there was Wuben G2. I had never played with a Wuben G2 before. I think I've seen your videos with it.
Yeah,
But it's a nice little EDC, and I'm like, yeah, I'd love to check out the G2 as well and do a review of that. So I did a video, and also the Wuben A1. And I'm like, are you giving me this, or are you serious? Like, we're just gonna play with it, right? I can't take this back. It's like a big tactical searchlight. And I was
yeah,
like, no, it's just to play with here. I'm like, okay, cool.
yeah,
It's a big box. So we took that outside to um, sort of. I was thinking, yeah, we had tea. I gave Mr. Simyao, the boss, some tea from Suzhou because last time he gave me some tea from that his brother had made in the mountains, and this time I was like, I should probably bring him some tea from Suzhou that's local to Suzhou, like where my wife's from. So I got him some tea, and yeah, that was nice. And we after that thought, um, let's do some videos, sort of impromptu, because I was just going to go there, have a chat with marketing, and go and have some dinner. And we had a chat, did thought about making videos. I'm like, well, do you have any downlights I can do a G2 video in front of? And like, no, not really. So we went uh, down the hall and went into another room where they got a dedicated room with videographers and marketers and people making videos and stuff. So went there and they had all this equipment and for backdrops, and they got like black backdrops and white backdrops. I'm like, this is gonna look too professional. I don't want to do it here. Sorry, can we just go outside? So I went outside and literally just used the bushes, like green bushes of the sun, as the lighting, and did a video of the G2 there, and decided, can we just do a video of the Women A1 as well outside? So we went outside and walked around the basketball court, and like there's a garden area, and I was like, yeah, it's okay, but I don't really want to have the backdrop of people. Like, yeah. So we walked a bit further and then found like a, um, yeah, we basically ended up walking into the mountains along a river. And there was like snakes and frogs and like massive snails on the footpath. And we went out there and went for a walk along, yeah, the river, and took some videos of the A1, and realized it was not really dark enough to be doing beam shots. So we decided to head back and then have some dinner. And then after dinner, went back out and did the beam shots of the Wuben A1 over the river and got to play with the Bluetooth. And this is where I'd love it if USB C to C charging worked, because the with the transmitter it supports USB A to C but not USB C to C. And I had a power bank that does the power bank I had on me does A to C and C to C, but I only had a C to C cable on me. Um, so we were like 30 minutes walk away from the office. Didn't really want to go back, and didn't have a cable to charge um, the remote control. So we ended up asking um, an engineer to come back from Wuben, he's like famous in all the videos. He's on all the TikToks and stuff, or the Zoyi videos. He's got like the beard and stuff. So he came out to help us figure out how do we use the transmitter or the Bluetooth and pair it with the Wuben A1 and get it to work. And he's like, we got there and it's like, he came out and it's like, checked, like, oh, the battery's dead. You need to charge it. Anyone got the charging cable? I'm like, nope, it doesn't work. I'm like, okay, so he walked all the way back and then grabbed a power bank, like the Wuben X3. He just used the Wuben X3 as to charge the um, like the carry case for the for it. I think, where is it? I'm pretty sure he just used this. So whatever it was, he used this to charge. Oh, okay. With an X3 battery.
Yeah,
I think that
use
worked
that.
on it, but for
Yeah,
whatever reason, my power bank didn't work, and this did work, and
yeah.
so that was, yeah. We finally got it charged, got it working, and took some beam shots, and so like a quick visit to talk to marketing and have lunch turned into like I think like 6 hours of having fun doing videos with two videographers joined me, and like they were doing videos. I don't know what happened with those videos, but they took some really nice photos and shared the photos with me. I'm not sure if they did videos too and made clips, but I used my phone for doing the clips or doing the videos of the A1 and the G2.
They seem to have a pretty big marketing team, and yeah, like
Yeah,
to because they're yeah, all their marketing promotions seem to come up everywhere once they have a new torch, and yeah,
yeah. I think they got like a big, yeah. The Shengshi group's much bigger than just Wuben, and there's like a bunch of other companies in the same building that are all under the same umbrella, doing a lot of sales and online marketing and stuff. And
yeah,
I came back the next morning and did a video just introducing the office. Like, so third time I've been to the office. Just came back in the morning and yeah, literally just went there. I'm like, okay, I've got 15 minutes because I've promised I'd meet up with Paul, who kindly offered to show me around Haoshang Bay at the electronics market on a Saturday. So I rocked up to the office at Wuben at like just after 9 o'clock. Spent like 15 minutes there, and then did the video just introducing Wuben, going up the lift, and then in the entry, and then jumped in a taxi, went straight back to Haoshang Bay. So I was in a hotel like 1 block away from where I needed to meet up with Paul. Jumped in a taxi, went to Wuben, and went back to from Wuben back to Haoshang Bay and met up with Paul. And I didn't even notice that the hotel I was in was like 1 block away from where I needed to go because I got dropped off at the place from the taxi. And I didn't know where I was, and I was like, which is the tall building? Because I was supposed to meet him at the infamous tall building at the electronics market, and there's so many tall buildings in Shenzhen now. So I was looking at it like this is. It says this is the market, and I'm looking and looking, and um, as I look at the buildings next to me, they're only like 2, 3 stories high. But if I look a bit further, um, there's like a building. The actual tall building is hidden away behind the 3 story um, building that's around it. So it was there. I just need to like lift my head up even higher to see how tall the building was. And yeah, ended up meeting Paul there and going around the electronics market, and um, spent the day, met Pan as well from Cyprus, and we got to. Um, he mentioned how he found like an iPad screen supplier or someone who was getting old recycled iPad screens and controllers and selling them for like $30 or something like that, really cheap. Um, so we had went around the whole market and went to have some lunch, and then after lunch decided let's go check out this supplier, and it was like an apartment building on the other side of the road. We just went up to like level 15 and wandered in and like, hello, can we please buy some iPad screens? Which is a bit odd for us just to randomly walk in, and it's like a residential apartment, but they had the door open and they were doing operating a business out of they had the shelving and stuff for all the iPads and components that they were stripping and repurposing and selling on AliExpress as like secondhand um, screens. So we went there and grabbed the screen and got that. So I've got this little high resolution screen I can play with just to mess around. It's got HDMI input and USB-C input. But
Sort of
that
repurposed
was
sort of
yeah, that
electronics.
was an adventure.
Yeah.
It's like an electronics market secondhand part
Yeah.
near that location, which you're not allowed to record. For I think they get angry if you
Oh,
put your
yeah.
camera out
Yeah. Yeah. So
because
smaller shop owners and stuff. Yeah.
they're literally just taking components off different things and like just repurposing, like putting them into containers and yeah, it's just recycling and reusing the components. Like, why chuck them out if you can just pop them off and reuse them?
Yeah. What I love doing is sometimes going through, looking at those old laptops that people chuck out and just taking out components and using them. You know,
Yep,
even just
like the webcams and yeah, microphones.
yeah,
or
yeah, or just fixing them up. Like I found some old, yeah, people chuck them out in those e-waste recycling bins, and I just sometimes, well, now not anymore, but I used to go through them and pick out laptops that were, more or less fine. They just had
yep.
some software issues, or maybe the hard drive had died, and then you could just play
Yep.
around, fix it up. Well, didn't
So
really do
funny you
much. I
should
think I sold
mention
one of them.
the
Yeah.
PC I'm like recording this on or streaming from. It's like the refurb Dell Optiplex something. I don't know. It's just some cheap $160
Optiplex.
office PC. It was
Yeah.
16 gig RAM to 56 gig SSD and running Windows 11 Pro. I just wanted
What,
something to use as a play thing for streaming and just random software. So if I'm updating firmware
what kind of
on
CPU
a
is it?
charger,
Is it
hopefully it's
i7,
working. i5.
i5?
I'm
Yeah.
surprised it's supporting Windows 11 Pro because my old PC isn't good enough to the hardware's not good enough to support Windows 11, and yeah, support for Windows 10 I think ends in 2025
I'm kind of worried
sometime.
about that. My gaming computer it doesn't support Windows 11. It's got some kind of i5 processor in there, but
Yeah,
it's yeah.
a
I don't
RAM
know.
chip.
Might be able
Yeah,
to force install it, but it maybe not stable.
yeah. This one's working fine. The updates are all working, and yeah, just glad that I've got something to go and play with all these chargers and firmwares. And if I blow it up and destroy the PC by mistake, then it's not knocking out other important stuff. Like I can just use it to update the firmware on a flashlight or a charger and or a amateur radio, handheld radio. But still thinking about whether it's got enough grunt for live streaming. It might be really laggy and jittery if I try to do processing. Like the
And
iPad
try and
was really
see.
good.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I went to the Canton Fair and checked out more flashlight factories on the Monday. It's in Guangzhou. Caught the high speed train 99 kilometers from Shenzhen to Guangzhou. Stayed in a hotel. Um, it was a service department that someone was renting out and calling it the Carlton Ritz, and it was so confusing because I got to the hotel and then I'm like, is this the hotel? And like, no, we're a different hotel. I'm like, okay, and then I walked 500 meters to another hotel, which I thought was the right location. Like, no, I have to go back to the previous one. I went back to the previous one. Talking to my wife, I'm like, I'm completely lost. I don't know. It's supposed to be here, but it's not here. And just pick up the pick up the swipe tag. There's a RFID swipe tag on the desk. Just swipe through the security gate, walk through, go up to level 22, and someone will meet you there. So I got there, and someone met me there and let me into the room, and yeah, had the security code for opening the door, and yeah, it's kind of, what would you call it, like Airbnb type of setup, I guess, rather than a formal
Yeah.
hotel. So that was, I didn't know it was like an Airbnb. I thought it was just a regular hotel. So I was like, is this the right place? And I was hauling the luggage along like cobblestone type streets. It was like going bup, 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 bup for a kilometer, like 500 meters to the other hotel and 500 meters back. And I'm like, this is, it's hot and sweaty. And I'm going bup, bup, bup. And I ended up destroying one of the wheels on the, like the rubber thing just wore off the the wheel, so it's like now it was sort of dragging too. So that was sort of um,
just dragging it without any wheels. That was
yeah, still using the suitcase, but one of them's got no rubber on it, so that wheel sort of skids and doesn't. But yeah, that was the fun of finding a hotel. It was a Airbnb type thing instead of a formal hotel. uh, and then yeah, ended up exploring the local. There was like a shopping center as a next to that building, so I just explored the shopping center and wandered around and tried out McDonald's there, which is a little bit different. KFC and McDonald's is quite different compared to like Australia. There's especially KFC. There's heaps of different types of menu items that you just don't get in Australia, and they don't have the common things.
yeah. They got some hot and spicy stuff. Like yeah, they don't really get them
like
over
get
here.
rice and different. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just different and like different types of foods to explore. McDonald's is probably more similar because they got the Big Mac and things that are the same, but then KFC is all different.
Yeah.
So I probably had that 3 times in that 8-day period. I would have gone out and had KFC and McDonald's. Yeah, KFC twice and McDonald's once when I was out for dinner at one point.
Yeah, KFC is like my go-to junk food. If I'm gonna have junk food, yeah, I mean it's probably the tastiest, most unhealthiest thing. But if you've got yeah, and I remember I was in Thailand and also in Malaysia. They have like garlic chili sauce that they include with it. It's really good. They don't
It
have
was
that here.
pretty. Yeah, I enjoyed the food there, but I was thinking like, can I go out and I wanted to get some takeaway from a restaurant, but I didn't know how to do it. And yeah, a lot of the places you go to are sort of they've got these big circular tables and they're intended for people to go and have a big dinner with coworkers or a family. And I'm like, it's me. I just want to get some takeaway. Like, so
Yeah.
I just like I'm not going to bother with the social anxiety of that and just go and use my phone to order KFC and walk in and pick it up.
Oh, that is the best. There's these QR codes where you can just order without speaking to anyone. Like
Yep.
that's like biggest hack for me, especially when I've just social battery's gone. Yeah,
It's easier to order it on the phone too because a lot of the time they're just being normal. Like you go to order a coffee and it's like they're like, "Would you
yeah.
like anything else?" But I'm like, okay, I'm like, huh? But they're saying
If
it
you
in Mandarin. I don't know what they're saying, and they're like,
yeah
"Is there anything else you'd like to buy?" And I'm like, I don't know what they're saying, and they're waiting for a response.
Man, yeah.
So yeah, I need to remember what that phrase was again. My wife tried to tell me I should learn more Mandarin, but
Like you don't
yeah,
understand
it's
Chinese.
not well enough. Like
Yeah,
to have if they're asking like, is
no,
there anything else you'd like to buy before finalizing this transaction type thing, and like, I don't know what you just said,
yeah.
and then it's just awkward, and I might just shake my head, and they're like, okay, or if they sometimes I'll nod like so confirming the order because like buying Shenzhen bao is like my favorite food to buy in Suzhou. Like it's just these buns of juicy meat in them, and I'll
yeah,
walk like a kilometer to get them each morning for breakfast.
yeah,
And the guy knows me now, so the first
yeah.
time it was sort of awkward, and he'd ask me like, "Is there anything else you'd like to get?" And I was like nodding yes, and he's probably like, well, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Like another one.
And then the other staff members just like laughing at
Did you get that
this whole.
translation? Don't you have some translation app or something on your phone? Use that.
I do, but I mean,
Yeah.
I know just enough to be able to order. like,
Yeah.
what am I what am I
They
like
probably love you, man.
sugar like
They probably love you.
like I want 4 or 8 of these Shenzhen bar, and they're okay, waiting like you pay with WeChat, and so I know just enough to order. But then any other type of question like, would you like? Yeah, so I tried to learn how to say like neuro or meat. So I want because you can get Shenzhen bao with prawn, and I
Beef.
don't want prawn, and all these different
Yeah.
types of um yeah. So it can be complicated. It's like, I want this, but okay, there's like 3 different versions of that. Which one do you want specifically? And then that's where online ordering can be a lot easier. And other people were using the app to order from that place, and I couldn't figure out how to install the app, so I just had to resort to trying to speak Mandarin. And I think the year before, or not year before, like in 2015, I tried ordering, and I was struggling and wasn't using any translation software. And another guy from Sydney was there. He was Chinese heritage, and I mean, I think, yeah, but he had a full on Aussie accent. He's from Sydney. He helped me out there. He's like, oh, he wants to buy this. He's like,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
stepped in and helped with the ordering process. I found, for the most part, um, I confuse people if I guess it's probably a travel tip. Like, just speak your native language if you're um, if you're new to the area and you're talking to someone. If I try to speak in Mandarin with an Aussie accent, they're thinking, okay,
yeah,
he's like, I mean, he's white. He might be Australian, American, or whatever, and he's trying to speak in English. I'm assuming, like, they're probably assuming I'm speaking English based on my accent, but I'm trying to speak Mandarin, and they're going like, I don't know what English word that is, like in their head, because it's butchering the
yeah.
Mandarin words
It's
with
it's
in
it's
English.
it's all the intonations that's difficult.
Yeah, so yeah, it's easier if I speak English and then try to switch into Mandarin,
Mm,
because then they can think, okay, speak English, and then try to make an effort to speak Mandarin. That way, I'm not confusing them, because there's some situations where I've just confused them and they don't they think I'm speaking English with a but I'm actually speaking Mandarin with like an Aussie accent and not pronouncing the tones properly.
yeah,
um, so
I
that
get
yeah
troubles. I get troubles as well down there. It's yeah. They basically just said, look, just don't, just one guy was like, he just said, don't speak. Just said to me, don't speak Mandarin.
yeah, it's too
Well, I only
it's,
speak it with my grandmother and maybe
yeah,
some relatives, but other than that, I mean, it's like real basic Mandarin. Yeah, because I don't really use it here, and
it
yeah,
takes
it's
I
difficult
think
to
it
learn new
requires the
language.
person to be in the right mindset. They need to like they need to know that you're trying to speak Mandarin and not speaking English, and they're not trying to, because they might not speak English all the time or have to listen to it all the time. And yeah, if they know that I'm trying to speak Mandarin, then they'll try to decipher my poorly pronounced tones, and yeah, they'll end
Yeah,
up interpreting it properly. But if they're not in that mindset, they're just like, what? It's just that
yeah,
sometimes other people will like step in. So if I'm talking to the staff member that's taking the order and they don't know what I'm talking about, then someone else might go, "Oh, he wants this," and they'll re-explain what I'm asking for. Even though I'm not speaking English, I'm trying to speak Mandarin. They at least someone else understood my butchered Mandarin.
yeah,
um, but it's just can confuse people, and sometimes they might freak out. Like, I'll walk in and they're like, "Oh no, uh, like, he's white. Is he going to speak
yeah,
English?" And then they're like, "Oh, anyone speak English?" They're trying to get, yeah. And then I'm hoping it's a relief when I just like go and order a coffee in Mandarin. Uh, like,
Well, you
tried to
made it
learn that.
back.
Yeah,
You made it back, and you didn't starve, so that's a
yeah. I
plus.
tried all the foods, and
Yeah,
yeah, I got more motion sickness than food. I only had the food poisoning that one night.
yeah.
It wasn't that bad. I was just vomited once. Like, um,
Sounds pretty bad to me.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it wasn't like
uh,
full on, yeah,
yeah.
diarrhea and that type of thing. I think people
Uh,
go through that with gastro, but
well,
I
yeah,
didn't have
I
that.
had that once when I was traveling for like over a week and a half. So yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah,
It's not fun. I was actually considering getting like an adult nappy or something like that. It was that bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, the
Anyway,
people
probably too
are
much
really
information. Yeah.
the people there are really hospitable and welcoming, and yeah, that was really great visiting the different factories. And yeah, at the Canton Fair, I saw Phoenix there, and there was, yeah, Wuben were there, and NEXTORCH were there, and Phoenix and Zoyi, and um, yeah. there's not as many flashlight companies were at the Canton Fair. There were more from Ningbo. I think Ningbo is known for making flashlights, and that was I felt a bit awkward walking around the fair because um, they're expecting prospective buyers and dealers to be walking around, and um, you need to just like say no and keep walking if you're not interested. Otherwise, you end up in a conversation with a supplier about a different product. Like,
Oh yeah,
so I
they want to sell you
don't want
like
to waste your
1,000
time.
pieces of it or something. Yeah. They're like, oh,
Yep.
you look like some foreign buyer, and then we think
Do
they're
you
gonna
want
make a
copper
good
wire?
yeah,
Like, no, I don't
Y-
want copper wire. Sorry, I don't want to waste your
yeah,
time. Please don't.
yeah.
Please don't
Must have
try
been
high
pretty
pressure sales
interesting.
with me, like, because
Yeah,
I'm not interested.
yeah,
Um, then I go to a flashlight place and like, oh hey Tim, like already visited them before,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
nice. But the Canton Fair is way bigger than anything I've seen before. Like, just I think there's 3 or 4 areas. I went to Area C, and there's like 3 or 4 levels. Um, it's like a level 3 or 4. Yeah, but if you look at Melbourne Exhibition Centre, like the Canton Fair, like one area is like 2 or 3 times the size of just the one exhibition centre.
Oh,
So like
holy
in
crap!
terms, it goes vertical as well, like multiple levels.
We don't have any
But
torch events here in Melbourne. I think we just don't have enough people that are interested in them. Maybe electronics related. There's
yeah,
just like the Shot Show. I think Shot Show is coming to Melbourne like later this year.
I think yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be good to have more flashlight companies present at like the Shot Show SSAA type thing, or outdoor type things, or 4 wheel driving and outdoor related things. There's also the law enforcement and military. I'm not sure if there's a MilCon in
Oh,
Australia. I think there's some kind of
yeah,
MilCon.
maybe.
They do military suppliers. Like, is it Noya or someone? They do like guns and
Yeah.
everything.
Night vision. That'll be
Yeah.
that'll be sweet to check some of that stuff out.
I was trying to thought about visiting, but I already traveled so much. Yeah, in
Oh, the
China
night
last
vision
month.
places. That would have been yeah.
There's
It's like a
InfiRay. I
yeah,
think Ground Force International is a dealer in Australia, and they do InfiRay night
yeah.
vision, and they're
Would
up
they?
north. But that was another flight and another day of traveling that yeah, I wanted to get
Yeah.
back to my family in Suzhou and then spend more time with my daughter having fun. And then we spent another week and went to Disneyland. That was, what do they call it, Disney World or something? It's at Shanghai Disney.
Yeah.
And that was, yeah, a lot of fun. Got to play there and then come back to Australia. And I made the mistake of checking in torches. If you're traveling with flashlights, take it as carry on. Don't try and check it in, because they security freak out over having lithium batteries in your checked in luggage,
Oh,
even if it's inside a
yeah.
personal electronic device.
Right, right.
I mean,
So you bring them along
they,
with you, but after up to a certain point, they get if you got too much, too many of them on the carry on, that can be an issue, right?
yeah, they might throw it out. I think I've heard horror stories in the USA where they go through TSA and people confiscate their torches as if it's on
Yeah.
carry on. But then if you go through security at China for like going through the X-ray for we went through uh, in Suzhou. There's a company. Sorry, in Suzhou we went to PVG, the Pudong Airport in Shanghai. So I caught a bus or a van from Suzhou to Shanghai Pudong Airport, and Avenex is the Shanghai security group that manages security at the airport. So you basically can do the clearance. You can go through and do the screening at Suzhou, jump in a van, everything's been scanned and wrapped, and they wrap your suitcase. And when you get there, a security person from the airport takes your luggage straight through, but then they scan it again. So when I went through Suzhou and had it scanned, it went through 4 times, because each time it got scanned, they were like, "What's this? Why is this showing up on the X-ray?" And I'm like, can I go back there and look at the X-ray and help explain it to you? Because like we opened up the suitcase and we're trying to, like, it was in this section of the suitcase. Like, oh, maybe it was the aluminium heatsink of this LEP module. Like, And they're probably like, why do you have a heatsink in your
Yeah.
suitcase?
It's
Which
not.
is
It's not a
perfectly,
common. It's yeah.
it's
It's not. It's
perfectly
not, not,
legal.
not a
It's
common
just
thing they
not
find.
common. And then there's like
Yeah.
battery. There was like a bunch of these torches in a Tim Tam box. I had like a box I kept giving out Tim Tams in. um, I had a big box of Tim Tams full of torches. Like all these torches were in the
Man,
box, and they were like, "What's this?" And like, "Oh, okay, you can carry that." But then there was a spot welder in the. So after 4 checks, I explained what everything was, and it took added an extra 30 minutes of checking because I had to keep going
spot
back
welder.
through.
Wait, did you say you had a spot welder in your suitcase?
Yeah, like a battery powered spot welder for lithium battery packs.
Yeah.
Um, that got confiscated eventually because we got to
Oh, what?
Shanghai, and
Yeah.
then they called the security, called up, or the place called my wife and said, "We've gone through your suitcases again and done another screening. We've had to take some items out." So they, I'm like, "Oh no, I hope they didn't take out like the Ruben E1 because I had to do a review of that or a video of that for
Hmm.
the launch on the 25th." I was really concerned that they might have taken this, and then I would have had to ask Wuben or someone to express post stuff overnight, which is quite expensive.
Yeah.
um, so
Yeah.
luckily, we finally got to Australia, and then I checked everything, and I'm like, everything is here. The only thing they took was the spot welder because they had a power bank feature, so it's only like the battery capacity is really small. It's like 1,000 or 2,000 milliamp hours. It's not big at all. But the fact that it had a USB-A output and a power bank feature, they're like, nope, you can't have power banks in your suitcase. So they took it out, and now so I can't take it as checked baggage, and when I can't take it as carry on either because it's a spot welder, and I could use it with like um to like inflict pain or cause issues. So you can't take a spot welder on as check in. I mean, as carry on. So the only way I can get it is if I have to transport it via freight, via sea or air.
Yeah.
Um, Probably via sea. There's a forwarding service. So in August, I bought, yeah, it's like a $50 spot welder.
You could
um,
get one off eBay or something.
it
Yeah.
would have been easier just to order it on
Yeah.
AliExpress or something and get it that way, but uh, maybe that explains why the shipping is more expensive. It was like, I think it's like $98 to buy on AliExpress, and it was $48 to buy on Taobao. So like, oh, I'll just buy it online while I'm in China because it's half the price. But then
Yeah.
getting it to Australia is impossible unless I use a forwarding service that goes via sea, or I'm not even sure if the air freight would accept it.
Yeah.
Um,
Tim, I've got to head off
yep, cool.
soonish, but
Yep, this has been a long one, I guess.
yeah, geez, it's been
Yeah,
nearly 3 hours, but it was
jeez.
really yeah, that was a long chat. Like,
Yep.
but it was really good and good to hear about like all your experiences of all these different torch factories and so getting a
Yep.
glimpse behind the scenes as well and in the way that they make their
Yep.
torches, some of the comparisons between them. I think it also gives me a little bit more confidence in some of these companies like the clean rooms and negative pressure rooms, some of the attention to detail that they put in their lights as well. So yeah, maybe if after this podcast you can, in the links in the description, you can link to your posts as well, because you
Yep.
have proper photographs of some of these places and some of the videos that people might
Yep.
want to go ahead and check out. Because, yeah, I mean, it's difficult while we're talking to bring up some of these
Yeah.
images on the screen as well. So it's probably better if people go look at your blog.
Yeah. Can
And
check
then
out
we
the blog.
yeah, we'll put some
Yep.
links in the description as well to some of our products. We're actually trying to come up with yeah, like a proper spreadsheet with links and things like that to recommended products. But
Yep.
yeah, kind of a work in progress, isn't it?
Yeah. Check out the factory tour videos. I've done one of about 5 or 4. So I've got another 3 or 4 videos to edit, and I think they'll be much easier to edit. I just have to put them together and cut out little bits and not have to worry about the audio as much because I only use one microphone for the rest of the rest of the videos. But yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for sticking around if you're still here after almost 3 hours.
might try to do these live next time. Might keep us people might keep us entertained, ask some questions as well.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's it. So
Cool.
we'll see you all next time, and thanks for watching.